The second time the wedding guests laughed, I knew someone had rewritten my speech. The first card on the lectern had been mine. I recognized the tiny coffee stain near the top and the place where I'd crossed out lucky and written wise because Jenna hated being told her relationship was luck. The second card said, "If anyone here needs marriage advice, obviously don't ask me." I turned mine into a 3-year hostage situation. A laugh rolled through the ballroom, thin at first, then fuller when people saw Jenna covering her mouth at the head table. I stared at the sentence. My ex-husband had once used those exact words, hostage situation. I told my mother that during a night when I couldn't stop crying long enough to drive home. "Go on," someone called cheerfully. I turned to the next card. "Jenna has always been the fun sister," it began. "I'm more of an emergency contact with a control problem." This laugh was louder. Across the room, my mother sat perfectly still. She wasn't confused. She wasn't searching for an explanation. She was watching me the way she watched a pot that might boil over, ready to lower the heat before it made a mess. That was when I understood the cards hadn't been mixed up by accident. Someone expected me to keep reading, and the question that hollowed out my chest wasn't who had done it. Jenna's smile had already answered that. The question was why my mother looked prepared. 4 months earlier, Jenna asked me to be her maid of honor over a plate of chicken parmesan at my parents' house. She didn't exactly ask, actually. She tapped her fork against her water glass and said, "Okay, Claire, don't get weird about this." My father looked up from trying to separate 2 dinner rolls that had fused together in the basket. Strong opening. "Paul," my mother warned, although she smiled. "What?" I'm on the edge of my seat. Jenna threw a sugar packet at him. At 33, she could still do that at my parents' table and somehow make it charming. If I threw anything during dinner, my mother would ask whether the divorce had left me with unresolved anger. Jenna reached under her chair and pulled out a white gift bag with gold tissue paper. She slid it toward me. Marcus, sitting beside her, leaned back so he could see my face. He was broad-shouldered and quiet, with the permanently cautious expression of a man who had learned that Whitaker family dinners contained traps. I pulled out a small box. Inside was a silver bracelet with a knot in the center and a card that said, "I can't tie the knot without you." "Oh," I said. Jenna's face changed immediately. "That's not a bad O, is it? I've only said 1 syllable." "You have different O's." "She does," Dad said. That one sounded neutral to alarmed. Could everyone stop interpreting my vowel? Marcus laughed into his napkin. I looked at the bracelet again. I already knew the answer expected of me. I also knew Jenna had 6 close friends, 3 of whom had spent the previous weekend touring vineyards with her and posting pictures captioned "Bride Tribe." "You want me to be your maid of honor?" "No, I bought you a ceremonial knot bracelet because I want you to clean my gutters." "Jenna." "Yes, obviously." She tucked one leg beneath herself. "You're my sister." The answer should have felt simple. There had been a time when it would have. When we were younger, Jenna used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, even though her room was farther from the big maple tree and objectively safer. In our 20s, she had slept on my apartment floor for 11 nights after discovering her boyfriend was engaged to someone else. I'd stepped over her every morning to make coffee, and every morning she'd said, "Sorry," as if she had become furniture overnight. But by then, I understood that being chosen by Jenna often meant being placed between her and every consequence she didn't want to meet directly. Mom mistook my pause for hesitation and leaned across the table. "Claire, this could be so good for you." There it was. Not good for Jenna. Good for me. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means you've been in your shell. I'm sitting at dinner. You know what I mean. Since Ryan left, you've made work your whole life. I took 3 days off last month to go to Asheville with your friend Lena. That's not the same as family. Lena would have enjoyed hearing that she was an illegitimate use of vacation time." Jenna rubbed her thumb over a scratch in the table. "You don't have to." The words sounded casual, but her lower lip had gone tight. She had done that since we were teenagers. She would ask for something, then withdraw the request before anyone could refuse it, converting a possible no into an injury she could carry. Marcus put his hand over hers. "We really do want you, but we also know it's work." Mom gave him a quick glance, surprised by the unnecessary warning. "How much work?" I asked. Jenna brightened. "Normal maid-of-honor work." Dad made a noise that might have been a cough. "Dad." I didn't say anything. He made a sarcastic respiratory sound. He raised both hands. "Allergies." Marcus smiled at me. "There's a wedding coordinator at the venue. You won't be running the show." That turned out to be the first promise the wedding broke. I put on the bracelet. Jenna squealed, came around the table, and wrapped both arms around my neck. Her hair got caught in my mouth, and I laughed while trying to spit it out without making the hug weird. "You'll be amazing," she whispered. What she meant was, "You'll make this safe for me." What I heard was, "I still want you beside me." Those two things sounded enough alike that I said yes. After dinner, Mom handed me 3 plastic containers. "One is chicken," she said. "One is pasta. The little one is sauce. I can identify food. The lids are loose. Keep them upright." Jenna had left empty-handed because Marcus was taking her out for a celebratory drink. Dad was loading their plates into the dishwasher, which meant Mom would reload it after he went to bed. I set the containers by my purse. "Did you know she was going to ask me?" "Of course. We discussed it." "We? Jenna and I? Did she consider anyone else?" Mom wiped the counter with a damp paper towel, pushing invisible crumbs into her palm. "Why would she? You're her sister. She has friends who are more excited about weddings. Excitement isn't the same as reliability." There was no insult in her tone. That almost made it worse. In my family, reliable was a compliment the way sturdy was a compliment for a folding chair. Mom lowered her voice. "Between us, I'm relieved. Sophie means well, but she'd turn the whole thing into a bachelorette tour. And Tasha is already being difficult about the dress color. I thought Jenna hadn't picked a color." "Exactly." I looked through the doorway toward the dining room. Dad had stopped loading dishes and was eating the burned cheese off the edge of the casserole pan. What does Jenna need from me? Nothing outrageous. Keep her grounded. Help her make decisions. Make sure she doesn't get overwhelmed. So normal maid-of-honor work. Mom smiled. "You know your sister." I did know her. That was the problem. The first wedding emergency arrived 48 hours later. Jenna called while I was standing in the grocery store comparing 2 jars of pasta sauce. She didn't say hello. "Are you somewhere you can talk? I'm near canned tomatoes." "So yes?" "That depends on what happened." Nothing happened. "I just think Marcus's mother hates me." A woman reaching for marinara glanced sideways at me. "Why do you think Denise hates you? She sent me venues." "You asked her to." "She sent 11. You asked her for options. 11 is not options. 11 is homework." I put both jars in my cart. This was no longer a decision-making environment. "Did she say anything rude?" "No," she said. "Here are a few places that might fit what you described." "What a monster. Claire, I'm kidding." "Did you answer her?" I reacted with a heart. "When?" A pause. "Jenna." Sunday. It was Tuesday. I moved out of the aisle so a man could get to the canned beans. "Text her that you appreciate the list and you and Marcus will look at it tonight. But we're not looking tonight. Marcus has basketball. Then look tomorrow. Tomorrow I have dinner with Sophie. Thursday. Thursday could work. Great. But what do I say now?" I closed my eyes. "I'll send you a text. Change the wording so it sounds like you. Thank you. I love you. Love you too." She hung up before I could ask whether she needed anything else. She always did that when she had gotten what she called for. It kept the conversation feeling affectionate instead of transactional. By the time I reached the frozen foods, Mom called. "Did Jenna get a hold of you?" "Yes. She's upset. She's fine. Denise is coming on a little strong. Denise sent venue links, 11 of them." I stopped beside a freezer full of pizzas. Why does everyone keep saying 11 like she mailed us human teeth? Mom sighed. I'm not criticizing her. I'm saying Jenna needs help navigating this. Denise is very organized. So am I. That's different. How? You're on Jenna's side. It was such a small sentence. Mom probably forgot it as soon as she said it. But I stood there holding my phone while cold air leaked from a freezer someone had left partly open, thinking about what it meant that Denise sending a list was pressure, while me absorbing that pressure was love. Claire, I'm here. Could you make a shared spreadsheet? Something Jenna can use to compare the venues without feeling buried? There's probably a template online. She'll actually use it if it comes from you. I looked into my cart. I'd come in for coffee, spinach, and 1 jar of sauce. I had 2 jars, no coffee, and a Maid-of-Honor assignment. Fine, I said. You're a lifesaver. That night, Jenna came to my condo with wine and grocery store cupcakes. She kicked off her shoes, opened my silverware drawer without asking, and found the corkscrew on the first try. She had not visited in almost 2 months, but she still knew where everything was. We sat cross-legged on my living room rug with our laptops on the coffee table. Jenna rejected one venue because the carpet was aggressively maroon, another because the outdoor photographs contained too many geese, and a third because its ballroom reminded her of the hotel where our cousin had gotten food poisoning. You didn't get food poisoning, I said. I witnessed it. You saw him leave the table quickly. I saw fear. By 10, we had narrowed 11 venues to 4. Jenna leaned against the couch, tipsy and warm, and rested her head on my shoulder. I'm glad it's you, she said. Because Sophie wouldn't make conditional formatting? Sophie doesn't know what conditional formatting is. Most happy people don't. She smiled, then went quiet. Do you think I'm making a mistake? She asked. I turned toward her. Marrying Marcus? She nodded. No, you answered fast, because I've met him. What if I become mom? It was the kind of question Jenna only asked late at night, when there was no audience to reassure her she was wonderful. You won't, I said. You don't know that. No, but you worry about it. That gives you a head start. She picked frosting from the edge of a cupcake wrapper. Mom says marriage is easier if one person is less sensitive. Mom says a lot of things when she wants other people to stop reacting. Jenna laughed, but her eyes stayed on the wrapper. Then she reached over and closed my laptop. No more wedding tonight, she said. Tell me something about you. The request surprised me enough that I couldn't think of anything. Work was busy. Lena wanted me to join some pottery class. My upstairs neighbor had developed a passion for indoor jump rope. None of it seemed shaped like news. Jenna nudged me. Come on, something? I looked at my sister, at the same small scar over her eyebrow she'd gotten falling off my bike when we were adults, and should have known better. I'm thinking about repainting the bedroom, I said. She groaned. Claire, that is the saddest possible answer. It's currently gray. What color? I don't know yet. She sat up, suddenly animated. Not blue. Ryan liked blue. And there it was again. Tenderness with a blade hidden inside it, affection that knew exactly where I was soft because it had helped bandage me there. Jenna must have seen something shift in my face. Sorry, she said quietly. It's okay. She rested her head on my shoulder again. I told myself that mattered, that she had noticed, that she had apologized, that love did not have to be perfect to be real. On the coffee table, the venue spreadsheet glowed between our empty wine glasses. At the bottom, in a row I had not created, Jenna had typed one more task, MOH speech, Claire. Beside it, under deadline, she had written, Make everyone cry. I deleted the row. Jenna reached over and typed it back in. MOH speech, Claire. Deadline. Make everyone cry. Stop assigning me emotional outcomes, I said. I don't want one of those speeches that's just a list of jokes. What kind of jokes? You know, how I stole your clothes, how I was always late, how you thought Marcus was a waiter when you first met him. I did not think Marcus was a waiter. You asked him for a napkin. He was standing beside the napkins. He was wearing a tie. We were at a restaurant. Lots of people were wearing ties. She added another note beneath the deadline. Do not mention napkin incident. I took the laptop away from her. Anything else? No stories about me throwing up, no dead relatives, nothing about Ryan. I wasn't planning to mention my ex-husband in your wedding toast. I know. I'm just giving you boundaries. You're giving me the boundaries of a disturbed person. She smiled, satisfied. That's why you're perfect. I should have asked what she meant. Instead, I saved the spreadsheet. The venue finalists turned into a Friday afternoon tour because neither Jenna nor Marcus could find a weekend when both their mothers were available. Marcus offered to go without them. Jenna reacted as if he'd suggested choosing a venue from the highway while blindfolded. It's not just a building, she told him. It sets the entire emotional tone. We were standing in my parents' kitchen. Dad was peeling the label off a beer bottle in one continuous strip, a private challenge he took seriously. Marcus looked at me. Is emotional tone an add-on package? Usually priced per person. Jenna pointed at both of us. This is why I need adults there. Mom opened the refrigerator, stared inside, and shut it without taking anything. Claire can go. I was leaning against the counter, invisible until volunteered. The tours start at 1, Jenna said. Can you? I work on Fridays. So do I. Then how are you going? I'm taking the afternoon. I looked at Marcus. And you? Already requested it. Everyone waited. I had a quarterly meeting at 2. I also had a boss who had covered for me during the worst month of my divorce and never once treated kindness like a permanent debt. That made me more careful about asking him for favors, not less. I can meet you at the last 2, I said. Jenna's shoulders dropped. Mom said, the first one is the place Denise likes. There it was. I could either take half a day off or leave Jenna alone with the terrifying possibility that her future mother-in-law might express a preference. I'll see what I can move. Jenna hugged me before I finished the sentence. Dad finally freed the label and held it up like a trophy. You people know weddings used to happen in churches with sheet cake afterward, right? Mom gave him a look. And women used to marry men who thought that was helpful. He put the label on the back of his hand and went outside. The first venue was 40 minutes away, which became an hour and 10 because Jenna refused to take the interstate. I don't want to arrive stressed, she said from the passenger seat. You've checked the arrival time 6 times because it keeps changing. That's what happens when you avoid every road with a speed limit over 45. She didn't answer. She was watching a little blue dot inch across her phone. In the back seat, Mom was texting. Denise says they're already there. Of course they are. Jenna muttered. Marcus is with her. Great. They can get married. Don't start, Mom said. I'm not starting anything. I caught Jenna's reflection in the rearview mirror. Her jaw was tight, and she was pulling at the skin beside her thumbnail. She had done that during exams, job interviews, and any dinner where our Aunt Carol might ask when she planned to settle down. We'll be there in 9 minutes, I said. 14, Jenna corrected. Then you have 14 minutes to decide whether you want to walk in, angry at people for arriving on time. Mom made a soft approving noise behind me. Jenna turned toward the window. I hated when Mom approved of me correcting her. It turned a sisterly nudge into an alliance I hadn't agreed to. The venue was a restored brick mill beside a narrow river. Inside, tall windows threw squares of light across old wooden floors. Denise stood near a stone fireplace with a folder under her arm. She was a small woman with silver hair cut bluntly at her jaw, and the posture of someone who returned shopping carts even in the rain. Here they are, she said warmly. Jenna accepted a hug without unfolding her arms. Marcus kissed her temple. You okay? Fine. He looked at me over her head. I shook mine slightly. Not here. The coordinator showed us exposed beams, a covered patio, and a bridal suite with 6 mirrors. Denise asked practical questions about parking and accessible entrances. Mom asked whether the fireplace could be decorated with greenery. Jenna asked where people would stand if it rained, then disliked the answer. By the time we reached the dining room, she had stopped speaking. The coordinator gestured toward the view. At sunset, the whole river turns gold. It's beautiful, Denise said. Mom looked at Jenna. What do you think? I need the bathroom. She walked away before anyone could answer. Marcus started after her, but Mom touched his arm. Let Claire. It happened so smoothly no one challenged it, including me. I found Jenna in the bridal suite, standing between two velvet chairs and staring at herself in 6 mirrors. I hate it, she said. The suite? All of it. Then we'll leave. Denise loves it. She said it was beautiful. She brought a folder. That's how Denise travels. I've seen her bring a folder to brunch. Jenna laughed once, but tears were gathering along her lower lashes. Everyone is making decisions around me. No one has made a decision. You told me to take the interstate. That was traffic advice. Mom keeps looking at you every time I don't answer fast enough. That stopped me. I leaned against the vanity. She looks at me because she expects me to fix it. Exactly. The word came out sharper than I expected. Jenna wiped under one eye with her finger. You walk into a room and immediately know what everybody should do. Do you know how that feels? Useful? To you? For a second, neither of us spoke. Outside the suite, someone rolled a cart across the old floor. The wheels bumped over every seam. I don't know what you want me to say, I told her. I want one thing not to turn into a Claire project. Then stop handing me projects. Her head snapped toward me. I regretted it instantly, not because it was untrue, but because truth was not always the same as timing. I didn't mean, yes, you did. You asked me to be Maid-of-Honor. I asked you to stand beside me. Mom asked you to make spreadsheets. And you used the spreadsheet because you'd already made it. The logic was so perfectly circular, I almost admired it. I sat in one of the velvet chairs. Okay, tell me what you want right now. I want everyone to stop having opinions. That's not available. Then why did you ask? Because what is available is telling them you don't like this place. She looked at herself again. In every mirror, she appeared surrounded. What if Marcus likes it? Then he gets to say that. You still get to dislike it. What if Denise thinks I'm being difficult? Denise raised a man who plays basketball on Wednesday nights and owns 4 identical gray hoodies. Her standards for glamour are survivable. Jenna smiled despite herself. I held out my hand. Come on, we'll say it together if you need me to. She took my hand and squeezed. When we returned, everyone looked up. Jenna opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I waited. Mom's eyes moved to me. I kept waiting. Finally, Jenna said, It's beautiful, but it doesn't feel like us. The coordinator nodded as if people said that every day, which they probably did. Denise closed her folder. Good. That's one crossed off. Jenna blinked. You're not upset? Why would I be? You liked it. I'm not getting married here. Marcus took Jenna's hand. Neither are we. On the drive to the next venue, Jenna chose the interstate. She and Marcus ended up loving the third place, a hotel with a ballroom overlooking a courtyard strung with lights. The carpet was blue-gray. The bridal suite had one reasonable mirror, and there were no visible geese. Jenna walked into the ballroom and whispered, Oh, it was one of her good O's. Marcus heard it too. He smiled at me from behind her. This is it, she said. Mom immediately began talking about centerpieces. The hotel coordinator brought out sample linens. Denise found an outlet near the ceremony space and asked whether the sound system required an extension cord. Dad, who had joined us after work, discovered a lobby bar and returned carrying 5 drinks when there were 6 of us. Sorry, Marcus, he said. Marcus took Dad's beer. We'll share. I watched Jenna move through the room. Her shoulders had relaxed. She stood at the windows with Marcus, pointing toward the courtyard, and for several minutes they were making decisions together without looking for permission. It suited her. On the way out, she slipped her arm through mine. Thank you for today. You picked it. I know. You told everyone you didn't like the first place. I know. I'm emphasizing this because tomorrow you're going to claim I chose your venue. She leaned her head against my shoulder. This is why people find you exhausting. The word landed harder after the bridal suite. She felt it and tightened her arm around mine. I'm joking, she said. Right. You know I'm joking. I did know. That didn't always help. 2 weeks later, the venue choice had become a story Mom told over Sunday dinner. You should have seen Claire, she said to Aunt Carol. She had comparison columns, color coding, travel times. I thought she was going to request soil samples. Aunt Carol laughed. That sounds like Claire. Jenna was cutting her chicken into tiny pieces. Marcus glanced at her, then at me. The spreadsheet was Mom's idea, I said. Mom waved this away. But nobody commits like you. We picked the hotel, Jenna said. Of course you did, honey. The honey made Jenna sound 12. I'm just saying Claire went into full command mode, Mom continued. The coordinator probably thought she was the bride. Dad looked up from his potatoes. Did she try on a veil? No, I said. Missed opportunity. Everyone laughed, including me. It was easier. Under the table, Jenna's knee bumped mine. I couldn't tell whether it was an apology or a warning not to make things uncomfortable. After dinner, Marcus found me rinsing plates alone. You know you can say no to things, he said. I handed him a dish towel. Is that your polite way of asking me to back off? No, it's my polite way of saying, Jenna calls you before she calls me. I turned off the faucet. He dried the same plate for too long. I love that you're close. I just don't want this wedding to become something she survives by giving pieces of it to you. That's not what I'm trying to do, I know. His answer was immediate, which made it kind. From the dining room, Jenna called, Claire, Mom wants to know if you can help with shower invitations. Marcus raised his eyebrows. I dried my hands. When I came back to the table, Jenna had a stack of cream-colored samples spread in front of her. Mom was holding 2 envelopes against the light. We're just looking, Jenna said. Mom handed me one with a pointed flap. This paper is prettier, but the other printer has better reviews. I'm sure either one is fine. Mom frowned. Could you compare them? Jenna did not look at me. I sat down and picked up the first sample. The bracelet she had given me slid down my wrist, the silver knot catching briefly on the edge of the paper. Sure, I said. Send me the links. The links arrived at 11:48 that night, followed by a 6-minute voice message from Mom comparing paper weight, ink tone, envelope glue, and whether pearl white looked too bridal, which seemed like an unusual concern for a wedding invitation. I listened while brushing my teeth. At 11:55, Jenna texted, Mom is spiraling. Just choose one. I typed, it's your invitation. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then appeared again. Please, Claire. I've looked at them too long. I chose the printer with better reviews and sent the link. Mom ordered the other invitations because she preferred the pointed flap. Nobody mentioned the decision again until the envelopes arrived with silver ink that smeared when touched. It's like scratch-off lottery ink, Dad said, rubbing Marcus's last name into a gray streak. We were at my parents' table assembling invitations. Mom had placed a dish towel beneath every water glass as if moisture had become personally hostile. Stop touching it, she told him. How will people open them without touching them? They'll hold the edges. Like forensic evidence? Paul. I had spent the previous 3 evenings collecting addresses because Jenna's list included entries like Sophie new apartment and Greg maybe Tampa. Marcus had provided a spreadsheet with full names, addresses, and dietary restrictions for his side in less than an hour. Jenna said that was because his family was aggressively administrative. Denise had also volunteered to help stuff envelopes, but Mom said 6 people would be too many. There were 5 of us. Jenna pressed a stamp into the corner of an envelope. This one's crooked. It's a stamp, Marcus said. It's visibly leaning. The post office will still honor it. That's not the point. He looked at me. I pretended not to see. Mom picked up the envelope. Claire, can you steam this off? No. 4 heads turned toward me. I kept writing an address. The stamp is fine. Jenna leaned closer to inspect it. It's probably fine. It's definitely fine, Marcus said. Mom set it in the completed pile with the reluctant care of someone releasing a defective product into society. My phone buzzed beside my elbow. Lena had sent a picture of 2 lopsided clay bowls. Beneath it she wrote, "Look what you could be making instead of managing the royal wedding." I smiled. What? Jenna asked. Lena. Tell her I said hi. She says hi, I lied. The pottery class had begun the previous week. I'd missed the first session because Mom wanted me at the invitation appointment, missed the second because Jenna had moved bridesmaid dress shopping to the only evening Tasha was available, and would miss the third because of the shower. When I told Lena I could join the next round of classes, she said, "You understand leisure is allowed to occur before every other person is satisfied, right?" I understood the concept. I had simply never seen it demonstrated in my family. The shower had originally belonged to Sophie, who planned a rooftop champagne brunch at her apartment building. Then Jenna saw photographs of an Italian garden shower online and decided champagne brunches felt impersonal. "What does that mean?" Sophie asked over speakerphone. I was in my car outside work eating crackers from the glove compartment because Jenna had labeled the call urgent. "It means I want it warmer," Jenna said. "Long tables, lemons, maybe little bottles of olive oil. On my roof? No, it won't work there." A silence followed. Sophie was one of Jenna's oldest friends, a cheerful physical therapist who could deliver bad news while sounding delighted to know you. "Okay, babe, where will it work? That's what I'm trying to figure out." The shower was 12 days away. I stared through the windshield at a pigeon walking beneath a parked truck. "What about Mom and Dad's backyard?" I asked. "Too much shade," Jenna said. "The hotel courtyard?" Sophie suggested. "Too expensive," I said. "What about your condo party room?" Jenna asked me. "My condo doesn't have a party room." "The courtyard area?" "The courtyard is a bench beside 2 recycling bins." "Oh." The pigeon emerged from beneath the truck with a French fry. Sophie said, "I can still do the rooftop brunch. I've paid the deposit and I ordered the flowers." Jenna's voice became careful. "If that's what you want." I knew that tone. Sophie did too. "No," Sophie said, "don't do that." "Do what?" "Make me say I don't care about your shower because I can't rebuild it in 12 days. I didn't say that. You didn't have to." I closed my eyes. "Could we pause?" I asked. "Sophie, what can be canceled?" "The food, not the roof deposit or flowers." "Jenna, is the Italian theme more important than having Sophie host? It's not about a theme. It's about how I want it to feel." "Which is?" "Like people know me." Sophie exhaled loudly. I spent the rest of my lunch break calling places. A neighborhood Italian restaurant had a private room available because a retirement lunch had been canceled. Their regular menu already included lemon chicken, bread, wine, and olive oil on the tables. They let us bring Sophie's flowers. "It's perfect," Jenna said when I sent pictures. Sophie called me separately. "Am I still hosting this thing? If you want to." "Do I? You tell me." She was quiet for a moment. "I want Jenna to have a nice shower. I don't want to be punished every time the definition of nice changes." "I know. Do you?" The question wasn't cruel. That made it harder to dismiss. In the end, Sophie hosted. I handled the restaurant, revised the invitations, picked up the flowers, bought lemons for the centerpieces, and stored 30 tiny bottles of olive oil on my dining table. Mom called it a beautiful collaboration. The shower looked lovely. Sun came through the restaurant windows and caught on the yellow glassware. Sophie wore a green dress and gave a funny toast about meeting Jenna in a bar bathroom, where Jenna had held the stall door closed with one foot while counseling a stranger through a breakup. Tasha organized a game that did not require anyone to wear toilet paper. Even Denise relaxed after Mom stopped correcting how she pronounced bruschetta. Jenna glowed. She moved between tables, touching shoulders, laughing, remembering everyone's drink. That was her gift. She could make attention feel like affection when she wasn't afraid there wasn't enough of it. She found me near the kitchen while I was asking a server where to put the extra favors. "Come here," she said. "I'm doing something. I know. Stop." She pulled me into the hallway and handed me a white envelope with Claire written in gold ink. Inside was a card. "You make everything beautiful, even when no one knows you're the reason. I don't say thank you enough, but I see you. I love you. I couldn't do this without you." For a second, all the fatigue left my body. Jenna watched my face. "Did I make you cry?" Almost. Damn it. I should have mentioned a dead relative. I laughed and hugged her. She smelled like citrus perfume and the champagne Sophie had selected before champagne became impersonal. Thank you, I whispered. She held on tightly. No, thank you. That was the thing about Jenna. She could see me. She just couldn't always keep seeing me when my needs obstructed hers. During gifts, Tasha passed around cards asking guests to write marriage advice. Aunt Carol read hers aloud. Never go to bed angry. Dad, who had arrived early to help carry boxes, called from the bar. Sometimes you have to. People have work in the morning. Men weren't invited to this part, Mom said. I'm not here. Someone wrote, always assume good intentions. Denise wrote, learn the difference between helping and taking over. Mom read that one twice. Then Jenna pulled out a card that said, ask Claire what not to do. The room went quiet in that quick, startled way a room does when a joke arrives before anyone knows who is allowed to laugh. Jenna looked up. Who wrote this? Aunt Carol put a hand over her mouth. Oh, that was supposed to be anonymous. A few people laughed. I smiled because everybody was looking at me. Claire's lesson is simple, Mom said brightly. Don't marry a man who needs more attention than you do. The laughter came easier then. I looked at the card Jenna had given me, still tucked beside my chair. Sophie changed the subject by asking Jenna to open the blender. Afterward, Marcus arrived to load gifts into his car. Dad took the lighter boxes while announcing that his back had been medically retired from lifting appliances. Marcus found me carrying a crate of unopened wine toward the restaurant office. Give me that. I've got it. I know. That's the issue. He took the crate anyway. Outside, Jenna and Mom were rearranging packages in his trunk. Jenna held the handwritten advice cards against her chest. The shower was beautiful, Marcus told me. Sophie did a great job. She did. He waited. What? You rescued it. I found a restaurant. You found a restaurant, fixed the invitations, picked up flowers, and apparently sourced boutique olive oil. It came in a carton. He smiled. You know what I mean. Behind him, Jenna slammed the trunk harder than necessary. On the drive home, Mom called. You disappeared without saying goodbye. I said goodbye to Jenna. She's worried you're upset. About what? Mom paused. Carol's joke. I'm not upset. You're quiet when you're upset. I'm also quiet while driving. You know nobody was judging you. I stopped at a red light. The shower card sat on the passenger seat beside Jenna's gold-lettered envelope. Mom, you told everyone my marriage failed because Ryan needed attention. That is not what I said. It's exactly what you said. I was diffusing an awkward moment. With my life. Oh, Claire. It was one joke. The light changed. I drove 3 blocks before answering. I have to go. Are you punishing me now? I'm driving. You said that already. I ended the call. At home, I set Jenna's card on my dresser. I read it again before bed, then once more in the morning. I see you. The following night, Jenna came over with takeout and found me standing in the bedroom doorway holding paint samples against the wall. You're actually doing it, she said. I told you I was. She looked through the colors and chose a pale green called Quiet Meadow. Too calm? I asked. For you? Deeply aspirational. I gave her a look. She touched my arm. I'm kidding. I know. Her eyes moved to the card on my dresser. She smiled when she recognized it. I meant that, she said. I placed the paint sample against the gray wall. All of it? Every word. She sat on the edge of my bed. Have you started my speech? No. Claire, the wedding is 6 weeks away. That's practically tomorrow. I need a story. Tell the one about Marcus bringing coffee when my battery died. I turned from the wall. You want that one? It's the first time you met him. It makes me sound like part of your meet cute. You were part of it. She smiled. You showed up with jumper cables. He showed up with coffee. I remember thinking one of them knows how to fix my car and the other one is hot. I'm putting that in. No, you're not. She stretched across my bed and picked up the paint sample. Tell it right, she said. Make it about us. I looked at the words, Quiet Meadow, in her hand. Which us? She tossed the sample at me. All of us, she said. Before everybody got complicated? Everybody was already complicated, I said. Jenna lay back on my bed and stared at the ceiling. You know what I mean, I do. We used to have fun. We still have fun. Not without discussing logistics. That's because you've turned your wedding into a small government. She laughed, but she didn't disagree. We ordered another set of paint samples and ate noodles on my floor. When Jenna left, she took the bag of empty containers to the trash without being asked. It was such a minor act that noticing it embarrassed me. I started her speech that night. The first sentence took 40 minutes because every version sounded like it belonged on a wooden sign sold in a gift shop. My sister is my first friend. Sisters are different flowers from the same garden. Family is where life begins and love never ends. All of them made me want to cancel language. I called Marcus. He answered in a whisper. Is Jenna with you? No. Why are you whispering? I told her I was asleep. You answered your phone. I'm bad at deception. That's comforting. I need your version of the car story. What car story? The night you met. You mean when she tried to drive 30 miles with the battery light on? She leaves that out. She also left out that she called you before roadside assistance. She called me instead of roadside assistance. Right. I opened a new document. Tell me what happened. He had been closing the coffee shop where he worked part-time while finishing a certification program. Jenna came in drenched and furious because her car had died in the parking lot. She asked if he knew anything about batteries. He said he knew they should not smell like rotten eggs. She laughed hard enough to snort, then denied snorting. That sounds like her, I said. She was trying not to panic. That also sounds like her. Marcus had brought her coffee and 2 dish towels because the shop had run out of paper towels. By the time I arrived with jumper cables, Jenna was sitting on the hood of her dead car telling him a story about Dad accidentally joining a neighborhood birdwatching group online and being too polite to leave it. I thought you were dating, I said. I thought you were terrifying. Why? You got out of the car carrying cables and said, "Who's this?" Like you were identifying a suspect. That is not how I said it. It is exactly how you said it. I typed while he talked. The rain, the coffee, Jenna making us laugh, Marcus holding an umbrella over me while I connected the cables, which I had forgotten. The 3 of us sitting in my car afterward because Jenna's battery needed time to charge. What made you ask for her number? I said. She made a bad night feel like it had happened on purpose. My hand stopped over the keyboard. That's good. Don't tell her I said it. It's going in the speech. I withdraw cooperation. I wrote it down anyway. The speech came together once I stopped trying to describe Jenna and described what happened around her. People became louder, braver, more impulsive. Waiters brought free desserts. Strangers in bathrooms disclosed secrets. Men who hated weddings learned to dance. I wrote about our differences without turning either of us into a punchline. Jenna could make a party out of a delayed flight. I could make a backup itinerary. She taught me that not every detour was a disaster. I taught her to keep a phone charger in her purse, although she still did not. I did not write that loving her often felt like standing beneath someone who kept jumping because she trusted me to catch her. At the final dress fitting, Jenna cried because the bodice felt different from the sample. The seamstress, a gray-haired woman named Marta, assured her that the dress fit exactly as measured. It's tight here, Jenna said, pressing both hands to her ribs. It needs structure, Mom said. I can't breathe. You're talking. That's not the same thing. Tasha sat on a velvet bench eating almonds from a plastic bag. Sophie studied her phone with the fixed attention of someone refusing to become involved. I stepped behind Jenna and loosened the temporary lacing. Better? A little? Marta looked offended. It will settle. Fabric doesn't settle, Jenna said. People say that when they don't want to fix something. Marta placed both hands on her hips. Mom caught my eye in the mirror. I ignored her. Jenna took a slow breath, then another. Do you want the dress changed? I asked. Or are you scared because this is the dress? Tasha stopped chewing. Jenna looked at me through the mirror. Her eyes filled. "This is the dress," she whispered. Marta's expression softened. Even Mom's did. I tightened the lacing just enough to hold the bodice in place. "You look beautiful." "What if I hate all my pictures? Then you'll still be married." Sophie laughed. Tasha offered Jenna an almond. Jenna accepted it while wearing a wedding gown that cost more than my first car. The panic passed. Later, while Jenna changed, Mom followed me to the row of bridesmaid dresses. "You handled that well," she said. I loosened a string. "You knew what was actually wrong." So did everyone. No, they didn't. Mom ran her fingers along the sleeve of my blue-gray dress. "That's why she needs you." There was affection in her voice, even pride. It warmed me before I could defend against it. Then she said, "Just be careful with the speech." I turned. "Careful how? Not too emotional." "Jenna specifically told me to make people cry. She says that now. On the day, she won't want to feel exposed. I'm not exposing anything." "I know you wouldn't intentionally." The last word sat between us. "What do you think I'm planning to say?" "Nothing. I'm only reminding you that this is about Jenna and Marcus, not everything the two of you have been through, and certainly not what you've learned about relationships recently. You mean my divorce." Mom glanced toward the dressing room curtain. "Keep your voice down. No one is hiding my divorce." "Claire, please don't make a simple comment into a confrontation. You brought it up. I'm trying to prevent discomfort." "For whom?" The curtain opened before she answered. Jenna stepped out in jeans and a white sweater, her face scrubbed clean. "Do I want to know?" she asked. "Your sister's interrogating me," Mom said lightly. "Mom thinks I'm going to turn your toast into a therapy session." I didn't say therapy. Jenna looked from her to me. "Can I hear it?" "It's not done. Read what you have." "Here?" "Tonight. At Mom and Dad's." Mom smiled as if that had been her suggestion. I nearly said no. Then I pictured Jenna hearing the speech for the first time in front of 100 people and decided a preview was reasonable. I finished it 2 nights later at my parents' kitchen table. Jenna sat across from me in socks, drinking tea from Dad's chipped Baltimore mug. Mom stood at the counter cutting a lemon she had no apparent use for. Dad had been removed from the room because Jenna said he would make faces. "He has a face," Mom said. "He has several," Jenna replied. I read from my laptop. The opening got a laugh. The phone charger line got another. When I reached the dead battery story, Jenna lowered her mug. I told her that Marcus remembered the rain, but what he really remembered was her laughter. I said I had spent years arriving with jumper cables, lists, spare keys, and plans. Believing love meant preventing every bad thing. Marcus had taught me something by showing up with coffee instead. Sometimes love was standing in the rain with someone until the bad thing became a story worth keeping. Mom stopped slicing the lemon. Jenna's eyes shone. I finished with the sentence I had been afraid was too honest. Being Jenna's sister has taught me that love can be inconvenient, exhausting, ridiculous, and still be love. "Marcus, I'm glad she found someone wise enough not to ask her to become easier. And Jenna, I'm glad you found someone whose hand you reach for even when mine is already there." Jenna covered her mouth. For several seconds, nobody said anything. Then Mom whispered, "Oh, Claire." I closed the laptop. "Too much?" Jenna came around the table and hugged me from behind. Her tears landed warm on my cheek. "It's perfect. Are you sure? Don't change it." Mom wiped beneath her eyes with the side of one finger. "It's beautiful. Every word." I looked at her. "No therapy session?" I was wrong. Mom did not say that often. The admission felt like a gift. Dad called from the hallway. "Am I allowed back in my own kitchen?" "No," Jenna shouted. "Did we cry?" "Yes." "Then it works." On the morning of the wedding, I printed the final version and cut it into 6 cards. My printer left a faint, gray line down the right edge, but I didn't have time to fight it. I numbered each card in the bottom corner, stacked them, and read the speech once over coffee. On the first card, I crossed out lucky and wrote wise. A drop of coffee landed near the top. I blotted it with my thumb, considered reprinting the page, then left it. The stain was tiny. The words mattered more. The bridal suite at the hotel was already loud when I arrived. Music played from someone's phone. Steam rolled out of the bathroom. Sophie was searching for fashion tape while Tasha sat at the vanity having gold shadow brushed across her eyelids. Jenna stood by the window in a white robe, staring into the courtyard. "You're late," Mom said. I checked the clock. "I'm 11 minutes early." "We expected you earlier. That's not how time works." Jenna turned. The moment she saw me, her whole face loosened. "You're here. I'm here." She crossed the room and hugged me. Over her shoulder, Mom was holding 3 garment bags and pointing toward a pile of boxes. Someone asked where the rings were. Someone else asked whether the florist had delivered the boutonnieres. Jenna held on for 1 extra second. Then she stepped back and saw the cards in my hand. "Is that the speech?" "Yes." "Let me see. You already heard it. I want to see if you changed anything." I didn't. Mom took the stack from me before I could object. She flipped through the cards, scanning the first lines. "Still beautiful," she said. A makeup artist called Jenna to the chair. Mom placed the cards on the dressing table beside my gold Maid-of-Honor bag. Then she hooked her arm through mine and steered me toward the garment boxes. "Come on," she said. "We need you." For the next 7 hours, everyone needed me. I pinned a loose hem, found Dad's cufflinks in the pocket where he insisted he had already looked, carried flowers, fixed a seating card error, and held Jenna's hands when the processional music began. She trembled until the ballroom doors opened. Then she looked at Marcus and became completely still. The ceremony was beautiful. At the reception, I ate 4 bites of dinner before the coordinator touched my shoulder. Toasts in 5. I looked toward the lectern. My cards were already there. Mom squeezed my hand as I stood. "Go make everyone cry," she said. I picked up the first card and looked at Jenna. She sat between Marcus and Mom at the center of the long table, her veil gone, her hair beginning to loosen around her face. Marcus had one hand over hers. She smiled at me, and for one last second, I believed the difficult part of the day was over. "Most of you know I'm Jenna's older sister," I began. "The rest of you have probably figured it out because I'm the one who's been checking the schedule since dessert." That got the laugh it always had. Jenna lifted her glass. I read the phone charger line, then the sentence about how she could make a party out of a delayed flight. People nodded because they recognized her. Even Denise laughed. Then I turned to the second card. The hostage situation joke waited in the middle of the cream paper in a font slightly smaller than mine. I read it because my brain recognized the rhythm of a sentence before it understood the words. Laughter moved across the ballroom. Marcus didn't laugh. Neither did Dad. Jenna covered her mouth, but I could see the edges of her smile. I looked down again. Maybe I had read it wrong. Maybe Jenna had slipped in one joke and intended it as some strange surprise between us. That possibility lasted until I picked up the third card. "Jenna has always been the fun sister," I read. "I'm more of an emergency contact with a control problem." The words came out flatter than the first joke. This time, the laughter was louder because the room thought it understood the game. Claire was roasting herself. The divorced, overly organized sister was proving she could laugh at her own sad life. Mom watched me without blinking. The fourth card began, "I used to worry Jenna would marry first, because nothing scares a divorced older sister like evidence that the difficult one was actually her." I didn't read it aloud. Below it, someone had written that I volunteered to be maid of honor because managing Jenna's life was more satisfying than living my own. The dead battery story was gone. So was the line about Marcus standing in the rain. My closing had been replaced with, "Marcus, thank you for taking her off my hands. Jenna, thank you for finally giving Mom one daughter whose wedding made it to dessert." A cold, precise quiet settled inside me. Around it, the room continued moving. A server collected plates near the back wall. Someone dropped a fork. The DJ stood behind his booth with his headphones around his neck. I lowered the cards. Is everything okay? The coordinator whispered from beside the lectern. No, I said. The microphone carried the word farther than I intended. A few guests laughed again, thinking it was part of the bit. I looked directly at Jenna. Her smile had disappeared. These aren't my words. The room changed, not dramatically. There were no gasps, no overturned glasses. People simply stopped arranging their faces for entertainment. Jenna shook her head once, very small. I couldn't tell whether she was denying what I said or telling me not to continue. I set the cards on the lectern. Marcus, I said, I'm glad you found Jenna. I mean that. And I wish both of you a marriage where neither person has to be made smaller for the other one to feel loved. Marcus's hand slipped away from Jenna's. I raised my glass. To Jenna and Marcus. A scattered chorus answered me. Glasses lifted because habit was stronger than discomfort. I put down the microphone and walked back to the table. Mom leaned toward me before I sat. What are you doing? I'm not doing this here. You already did. Jenna's face had gone red beneath her makeup. Can we not? Marcus picked up the fourth card from the lectern. He read the first line, then looked at Jenna. What is this? The DJ, either merciful or terrified, started the music for the next toast. Dad's best man stood with his notes and froze. Not Dad's best man, Marcus's. My brain had begun attaching words to the wrong people. Mom gripped my wrist beneath the table. Go to the bridal room. I pulled free. Now, Claire. I stood because staying would have meant listening to another man deliver cheerful remarks while my family hissed at one another over untouched cake. The bridal room looked different without 12 people inside it. Makeup covered the counters. Half-empty water bottles stood among curling irons and loose bobby pins. One of Jenna's white slippers had been kicked beneath a chair. Mom came in first. Jenna followed, holding up the front of her gown. Dad entered behind her and shut the door. Marcus did not come. Jenna turned on me immediately. Why would you say that? I laughed because the question was so impossible. Say what? That they weren't your words. They weren't. You could have skipped the jokes. I tried. There were no other cards. You could have just said something nice. I did say something nice. I wrote 6 cards of nice things, and someone replaced 5 of them. Dad looked at Mom. Replaced? Mom's mouth tightened. Let's all lower our voices. No, I said. Who replaced my speech? Jenna's chin lifted. It was a gesture she had inherited from Mom, although neither of them knew it. I edited it. You edited my speech? It was too serious. You heard it. You cried. I was emotional that night. So you rewrote it to make fun of my divorce? It wasn't making fun of your divorce. It was self-deprecating. Self means you make fun of yourself. You tell jokes about me all the time. Not about the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Not while pretending you wrote them. Mom stepped between us. One hand lifted. Don't put this all on Jenna. I approved the draft. The sentence was almost identical to the one in my head from the moment I saw Mom watching me at the table. It still landed like I hadn't expected it. You approved it. Yes. Because somebody needed to think about the room. I thought about the room. You thought about what you wanted to say. It was her wedding toast. Of course I thought about what I wanted to say. Mom folded her arms. Your original version made Jenna sound helpless. Jenna looked away. The battery story? You arrive with jumper cables, Mom said. Marcus arrives with coffee. Everyone else revolves around you. That isn't what it says. It says you've spent years rescuing her. It says she made us laugh. It says your hand was already there when she reached for his, Jenna said quietly. The room seemed to tilt around that sentence. You told me to make it about us. I didn't tell you to make my wedding about how much I needed you. Then why didn't you ask me to change it? Because you would have explained why I was wrong. I looked at her. So you took the worst things Mom knew about me and wrote them as jokes. They weren't the worst things. That's your defense? Dad moved away from the door. Jenna, this was a terrible thing to do. Mom turned on him. Paul, please don't inflame this. I'm not inflaming anything. I'm trying to understand why we're in a back room while 100 people are eating cake. because Claire made an announcement, because her speech was switched. Jenna pressed her fingers against her temples. This is exactly what I didn't want. It's my wedding, and somehow we're all talking about Claire. You wrote me into it, I said. You were already in it. That was the problem. For 1 second, she looked horrified by her own words. Then Mom touched her shoulder. She's overwhelmed, Mom said to me. You need to give her grace. I stared at her hand on Jenna's bare skin. What do I get? Mom blinked. What? What do I get to be? Besides the person who gives grace. This is not the time. It's never the time. Go back out there, she said. Tell people you got emotional and lost your place. Make a quick joke. We can still recover. There was no apology in the room, not even an offer to locate my original cards. Just another problem for me to solve. I reached up and unfastened the Maid-of-Honor pin from my dress. Jenna had given it to me that morning, a gold bar with my role stamped across it in cursive. I placed it on the counter beside a used makeup sponge. I'm going home. Jenna's face crumpled. You can't leave. Why not? The gifts, my dress, the brunch tomorrow. The hotel can secure the gifts. Your dress is currently on your body. Someone else can handle brunch. You said you would. You said you loved me. Her mouth opened. Mom stepped forward. Do not punish your sister on her wedding day. I'm not punishing her. I'm removing the person she decided was a joke. I picked up my gold bag from the dressing table. It was lighter without the speech cards. Dad said my name. I waited for him to ask me to stay, to be bigger, to understand. He rubbed one hand over his mouth. Text me when you get home. Mom made a disbelieving sound. I left before Dad could take it back. The coordinator intercepted me near the ballroom doors. Are you all right? No. She looked toward the bridal room, then lowered her voice. We can keep the gifts in our locked office overnight. You were listed as the person responsible for transport. Please update that to Jenna or my parents. And the rental items? The binder is in the gold box under the guest book table. Every vendor number is inside. She nodded, still watching me carefully. The brunch captain has your number. I'll text her a new contact. My phone began vibrating before I reached the elevator. Mom, then Jenna, then Mom again. Sophie texted, Are you leaving? I answered, Yes. Tasha wrote, I can come down. I typed, Stay. She needs her friends. The elevator doors opened on an older couple wearing formal clothes from another wedding. The woman smiled at my blue-gray dress. You look lovely, she said. Thank you. I made it to the parking garage before I cried. At home, Walter met me at the door with Jenna's pink travel pillow in his mouth. He was a 12-year-old beagle mix with white eyebrows and no respect for personal property. Jenna had dropped him off the previous afternoon with a bag of food, 2 medications, and the expectation that he would stay with me for 9 days. I sat on the floor in my formal dress. Walter put the pillow in my lap, then leaned his entire warm body against my knees. My phone showed 17 missed calls. I silenced it, opened my laptop, and found the original speech exactly where I had left it. The last sentence glowed on the screen. Even when mine is already there. On my dresser, Jenna's shower card still said, I see you. I took off the silver knot bracelet and placed it on top of the card. Then I texted Dad the brunch captain's number, the gift instructions, the rental deadline, and the name of a boarding place that could take Walter beginning the next afternoon. His reply came immediately. We'll talk tomorrow. Please don't make any permanent decisions tonight. Walter rested his chin on my thigh. I looked at the bracelet, the card, and the words on my screen. For once, I didn't answer. Walter woke me at 5:12 by sneezing directly into my face. I had fallen asleep on top of the comforter in an old t-shirt, with one contact lens still in, and my wedding dress hanging from the closet door. My mouth tasted like champagne even though I'd had less than 1 glass. Walter sneezed again. I'm awake. He stared at me. You have food. His tail thumped. You always have food. That's not an emergency. He climbed over my stomach with the determination of a much larger animal. My phone had collected 31 messages during the night. Mom had sent 11. Jenna had sent 4, deleted 2, then sent 6 more. Dad had called once at 2 in the morning. Sophie's last text said, "Your mom is telling people you got overwhelmed." I put the phone face down. Walter followed me into the kitchen, nails clicking against the floor. His medication was packed in a plastic organizer labeled morning and night in Jenna's handwriting. She'd remembered every pill, pre-measured his food, and forgotten to mention that she planned to rewrite my speech. I hid his tablet in peanut butter. He swallowed the peanut butter and left the tablet on the floor. "Even you're making me work for it." His eyebrows lifted. At 7, Dad called again. I watched his name fill the screen until Walter barked at the sound. "Hello, are you okay?" "I don't know yet." Dad exhaled. Behind him, I heard dishes, voices, and the hollow acoustics of the hotel restaurant. "You're at brunch. I'm hiding near an ice machine." "Good plan. Your mother wants to talk to you." "No, she's upset. Then she has something to discuss with Jenna." "Claire." "What?" A hotel door slammed on his end. Dad lowered his voice. "People are asking what happened." "Tell them. It's Jenna's wedding weekend." "The wedding happened. You know what I mean." I poured coffee into a mug, then realized I hadn't put grounds in the machine. Hot water dripped through an empty filter. "What do you want me to do? Come down here. Eat something. Let everybody see that you're fine." "I'm not fine. You don't have to stay long. And when somebody asks why I stopped the speech, say there was a misunderstanding. There wasn't. Then say the jokes caught you off guard. They caught me off guard because Jenna secretly replaced my speech." "I know. Do you?" He was silent. Walter licked peanut butter from the cabinet door. Dad said, "What they did was wrong. They, Jenna and your mother." It was the first time anyone had said it plainly. I leaned against the counter. "But," he continued, and the warmth disappeared as quickly as it came, "walking out created a second problem. No, it stopped me from solving the first problem for them. Those sound like the same thing." "They're not." He sighed. "Can we not do word games?" "I'm not playing." The ice machine dumped a load on his end with a crash. "Your mother and I had to get the gifts into the car at midnight. They were secured in the hotel office. Some of the rental pieces have to be returned by 4. The instructions are in the binder. We found the binder. Then you know where to take them." He went quiet again. I could picture him in his wrinkled suit from the night before, holding the phone against one ear while Mom sent him back to locate a centerpiece or garment bag. Dad had always treated family logistics as weather. Things happened around him, and somehow he arrived dry. "I'm asking you to be the bigger person," he said finally. "Bigger than what?" "Please don't do this. Bigger than the sister who rewrote my words? Bigger than Mom, who approved it? How big do I have to get before there's no room left for me?" That's dramatic. So was making me insult myself into a microphone. I heard Mom's voice in the background. "Is she coming?" Dad didn't answer her. "Claire, at least keep Walter until they get back. Don't punish the dog." I looked down. Walter had found the abandoned pill and was considering it with suspicion. "I'm keeping him through tonight. The boarding place can take him tomorrow morning. I sent you the information. They're leaving for the airport after brunch. They can call the boarding place before they leave. Jenna thinks you volunteered." "I did. Before she used my divorce as a reception joke." Dad spoke more softly. "Some promises shouldn't depend on whether you're angry. Some relationships shouldn't depend on whether I'm useful." Mom's voice came closer. "Give me the phone." "I have to go," I said. "Claire, wait." I ended the call. The coffee machine finished producing a full pot of tan water. I laughed. It came out wrong, then turned into crying before I could stop it. Walter ate his pill while I wasn't looking. Lena arrived at 9 with coffee, breakfast sandwiches, and a small cardboard box. "What's in the box?" I asked. "Emergency clay." She opened it on my kitchen table. Inside was one of the bowls from the picture she'd sent. It leaned noticeably to the left and had a blue glaze that stopped halfway down one side. It looks seasick. It's an artistic exploration of instability. It looks like it wants to lie down. "I made it for you." She set my breakfast sandwich inside it. I stared at her. "What?" she said. "It's food safe." That made me laugh for real. Lena didn't ask what happened until we were sitting on the living room floor with Walter between us. She listened without interrupting, except once to confirm that Mom had heard the original speech. She called it beautiful, I said, and then approved the rewrite. Yes. Was Jenna drunk? Maybe by then. Not when she wrote it. Did Marcus know? I don't think so. Your dad? No. Lena tore the corner from her sandwich wrapper into smaller and smaller pieces. What are you thinking? I asked. I'm thinking if you had read the whole thing, they would have said you agreed to it. I hadn't considered that. They would have, I said, and because you stopped, they're saying you caused the scene. They are. So the only acceptable outcome was you humiliating yourself nicely. Walter rolled onto his side and pressed his back against my legs. Lena looked around. Where's your bracelet? On the shower card. Good. I didn't throw it away. I didn't say you should. I know. She studied me. Do you want to throw it away? No. That answer made me cry again. Lena handed me a napkin. Yeah, what does that mean? It means it would be easier if you hated her. I wiped my face. She wrote that she sees me. Maybe she does. How can both things be true? People see where the stairs are before they step on them. I gave her a wet, offended look. That sounded better in my head, she said. It was terrible. I brought breakfast. We sat there until Walter began staring at the sandwich wrapper with enough intensity to become threatening. At 10:30, Sophie called. I can tell you're not at brunch, she said. Excellent detective work. I'm in the bathroom. Why is everyone hiding in this hotel? Your mother keeps assigning tables to people like she's running a summit. I heard a hand dryer start. Are you okay? She asked. No. Do you want me to leave? Stay with Jenna. She's pretending nothing happened. That sounds right. She told Tasha the speech was something you two had worked on together, but you froze when people laughed. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Sophie, did she say I knew about the jokes? Not directly. She said there had been edits and you were nervous. There had not been edits. She replaced 5 cards. I figured. How? Because I know your sense of humor. You'd make fun of her directional skills. You wouldn't call your marriage a hostage situation in front of your former in-laws. 2 of Ryan's cousins had been at the wedding. I had forgotten until she said it. Mom's telling people I barely slept this week, I said. She also mentioned champagne. I had half a glass during photos. I know. Tasha had the other half. I closed my eyes. Do you want me to correct people? Sophie asked. The offer tempted me. I imagined the room dividing into whispered versions, Sophie carrying mine from table to table while Mom polished hers. No, I said. Don't spend the brunch defending me. Somebody should. I don't want you in the middle. She was quiet. Claire, we've all been in the middle. You're just usually standing there first. After we hung up, I opened the family group chat. Aunt Carol had written, "We love you both. Weddings bring up difficult feelings. Let's give Claire space." Mom had reacted with a heart. Nobody had mentioned the cards. I started typing, deleted it, started again. Jenna replaced my speech without telling me. Mom approved it. I stopped because the words were not mine. The message sat unsent. Lena read it over my shoulder. That's true, I know. You can send true things, I know. But sending it would turn the chat into a courtroom where everyone voted on whether my reaction had been proportionate. Aunt Carol would explain her joke. Mom would say context mattered. Dad would ask us to take it offline. Jenna would leave the group and become the injured person again. I deleted the message. At noon, Marcus texted me. Did you write any of those jokes? I looked at the question for a long time. Then I opened my laptop, attached the original speech, and sent it without commentary. The document still contained the title, Jenna's Wedding Toast, and the timestamp from 2 nights before the ceremony. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I wanted one person from that table to know what I had intended to give her. Marcus replied 20 minutes later. Thank you. Nothing else. At 1, Mom left a voicemail. Claire, I hope you're proud of yourself. Marcus and Jenna left for their honeymoon barely speaking. He accused her of lying because you sent him some dramatic alternate version of the speech. People at brunch thought you were intoxicated, and I defended you, although you have not extended the same courtesy to your sister. I need the contact information for the florist, and your father can't find the garment return receipt. Call me. I listened twice. Then I forwarded the florist's number and told her the receipt was clipped inside the front cover of the binder. I did not defend my sobriety. I did not explain the timestamp. I did not apologize for Marcus reading the words I'd actually written. That evening, while Walter ate his dinner, I opened the wedding spreadsheet. There were still 27 unchecked tasks assigned to me. Return linens, deliver gown, pick up preserved bouquet, confirm thank you list, collect leftover favors, transfer photographs from shared drive. I selected my name from every row and erased it. For the first time in 4 months, the blank cells looked like room to breathe. The cells did not stay blank for long. At 6:14 the next morning, Jenna typed her own name into 3 of them. At 6:16, she assigned 8 to Mom. At 6:19, she wrote in the notes column, "Really?" I closed the spreadsheet. Walter sat beside the front door with his travel pillow and medication bag. The boarding place had agreed to keep him for the remaining 8 nights after Marcus called and provided a credit card. He had not mentioned the speech. He had only asked whether Walter had taken his morning pill and thanked me for keeping him safe. "I'm not abandoning you," I told Walter. He sneezed. "I know that sounds like something people say while abandoning you." His tail tapped the floor because my voice was gentle, not because my argument was convincing. The woman at the boarding desk greeted him by name. Jenna had used the place twice before, and Walter immediately pulled toward a door marked, "Staff Only." "He likes it here," the woman said. "That's insulting. He knows we keep treats in the laundry room." Walter looked back once as she led him away. Then the door opened, and he disappeared without hesitation. I stood in the lobby holding his empty leash. I had expected relief. Instead, guilt settled into the space where responsibility had been. That was how my family had trained me to recognize love. If I wasn't carrying something, I assumed I had dropped it. When I got home, there were 2 boxes outside my door. One contained leftover wedding favors. The other contained Jenna's dress, packed into a garment bag and folded badly enough that the bodice was bent. Mom had texted, "Your father dropped these off. Cleaner info and binder." I called Dad. He answered too quickly. "Hi. Why is Jenna's wedding dress outside my condo? Your mother said you'd know what to do with it. I know what to do. I'm not doing it. It's already there. That doesn't make it mine." "The cleaner is 10 minutes from your office. My office is not the magical location where everyone else's errands become convenient." Dad sighed. "What do you want me to do, Claire? I'm in the middle. You drove it here. I was trying to help. Then take it to the cleaner. I have a meeting. So do I." A pause. "I thought you worked from home on Mondays." "I do. I still work. I didn't mean. I know." I looked at the garment bag. A white satin sleeve had slipped through the zipper and was touching the hallway carpet. I tucked it back inside. "Dad, I'll keep the dress in my entryway until tonight. After that, you need to get it. Can't you just—" "No." The word felt physically strange, too small for the amount of force it required. Dad was quiet long enough that I checked whether the call had dropped. "Okay," he said. He picked up the dress at 6:40. I watched through the peephole while he wrestled the garment bag into the elevator. He did not knock. The favor boxes remained. I texted Mom that they needed to be collected by Friday. Her reply came immediately. "They're yours." I opened one. Inside were 53 tiny bottles of olive oil tied with yellow ribbon. I gave 6 to Lena, 4 to my neighbors, and left the rest in the break room at work with a sign that said, "Please pretend these are normal." They were gone by lunch. On Wednesday, my new paint arrived. I moved the bed away from the wall, spread old sheets across the floor, and opened the can of Quiet Meadow. The color looked less like a meadow and more like something a dentist would describe as soothing. Lena came over wearing sweatpants and a shirt she claimed was already ruined. "You understand we could hire someone," she said. "I like painting. You like taping. There's a difference." She caught me measuring the distance between strips of painter's tape and took the roll away. The wall doesn't need margins. The edges will bleed. Then the room will have character. My room doesn't want character. Your room was gray for 7 years. It wants anything. We painted while listening to music from college. Halfway through the first wall, I stopped checking my phone for missed calls. By the second wall, I had paint in my hair and a green streak across one shin. At 9, my screen lit up with Jenna's name. Lena glanced at it. Do you want me to stay? No. Do you want me to leave? I don't know. Excellent. I'll eat chips in the kitchen at an emotionally appropriate volume. I answered. For a few seconds, all I heard was wind. Where are you? I asked. On the hotel balcony. Are you okay? Do you care? I sat on the covered edge of the bed. Yes. Could have fooled me. There was music somewhere behind her, rhythmic and distant. She and Marcus were supposed to be at a resort in the Bahamas. I had helped compare the rooms. Walter is boarded, I said. Marcus arranged the rest. I know. How is he? Apparently fantastic. Everyone updates you. I asked about the dog. I know what you asked. I waited. Jenna breathed into the phone. Why did you send Marcus the speech? He asked whether I wrote the jokes. You could have said no. I sent him what I wrote. You knew what it would do. I knew it would answer his question. He thinks I'm a liar. Did you tell him we worked on those jokes together? Silence. Sophie said that was the story at brunch. I said there were edits. You replaced 5 cards. You keep saying it like I switched your medication. You stood there while a room full of people laughed at things I told Mom in private. It was a joke about being divorced. Half the country is divorced. It was Ryan's phrase. What? Hostage situation. Ryan said that to me. I told Mom. The wind disappeared from the call, as if Jenna had stepped inside. I didn't know that. Mom did. She suggested the line. I closed my eyes. The admission came so quickly that Jenna seemed to realize too late what she had given me. She said you'd laughed about it before, she added. I never laughed about that. Well, I didn't know. You still used it. I thought it was about you being controlling. Thank you for clarifying. That's not what I meant. From the kitchen, a chip bag crinkled once, then stopped. Lena was either listening or afraid to chew. Jenna's voice sharpened. You had the whole speech making me sound like your permanent emergency. You asked for that story. I didn't ask for the part about your hand always being there. You told me it was perfect, because Mom was standing there, and you were watching me cry. What does that mean? It means I couldn't criticize it without looking ungrateful. You could have said, please change the last line, and you would have wanted to know why. That's how conversations work. No, that's how conversations with you work. Everything becomes a hearing. You ask questions until I admit you were right. I stared at the half-painted wall. The top portion was green. The bottom remained gray, separated by an uneven line. Why are you calling? Because my husband barely speaks to me. Because I'm on my honeymoon arguing about my sister. Because you erased your name from everything like I died. I erased my name from errands. You know what it means? Yes, it means someone else has to do them. I said I was sorry. No, you didn't. I tried in the bridal room. You said the speech was too serious. I was overwhelmed. That is not an apology. What do you want, Claire? There were so many answers that I couldn't choose one. I wanted her to understand without being taught. I wanted the shower card to be true. I wanted to go back to the hotel ballroom and lift the second card and find my own words waiting. I wanted you not to do it, I said. She made a small sound. That's not fair. I know. It's also the truth. We stayed quiet together. For a moment, she was not a bride or my mother's frightened favorite or a list of unchecked tasks. She was my sister on a balcony, unhappy, somewhere beautiful. Then she said, You could have taken one joke. The softness vanished. You could have told one truth. I ended the call. Lena came in carrying the chip bag and 2 glasses of water. That sounded bad. It was almost not bad. Those are the sneaky ones. She handed me a glass. I looked at the wall. She said Mom wrote the hostage line. Lena's expression changed. "Did you know that was Ryan's phrase?" I asked. "No, nobody did except Mom." "Claire." She gave it to Jenna. Lena sat beside me without touching me. After a while, she said, "Do you still want the edges perfect?" "No, that's concerning." We finished painting at midnight. On Sunday, I did not go to dinner at my parents' house. Mom texted at 4 to ask whether I was bringing salad. At 4:15, she texted that Dad would buy it. At 5, she wrote that Aunt Carol had been invited, and it would be rude to make the evening uncomfortable. I replied, "I'm not coming." At 7:30, Dad called. "We missed you." I told Mom I wasn't coming. I know. In the background, dishes clattered. Mom was speaking to someone, probably Aunt Carol, in the deliberate, cheerful tone she used when angry. Dad cleared his throat. "Your mother says you're refusing to help with the retirement dinner. I haven't been asked. She said it's on the family calendar." I opened the calendar on my phone. Paul retirement dinner appeared 6 weeks away with a note beneath it. Claire, restaurant, invitation, slideshow. Mom had added the assignments that afternoon. "I'm not planning it." Dad laughed softly, as if I had made a dry joke. When I didn't join him, he stopped. "You always said you wanted to." I said I wanted to celebrate you. "What's the difference?" "I'll come. I'll bring a gift. I'll make a toast if you want one." "No speeches," he said quickly. The words hit us both. "I didn't mean it that way, I know." He sighed. "Your mother isn't good at this stuff. She planned an entire wedding with me. You planned most of it." "That's the point." "So what, we just don't have a dinner? You can choose a restaurant." "I don't even know who to invite. Ask Mom. She'll get stressed." I waited. Dad let out another breath. "Right." I opened the calendar settings while he was still talking. For 8 years, I had tracked birthdays, appointments, reservations, airport pickups, and every dinner Mom announced before confirming. I transferred ownership to my parents' shared email, exported a copy, and removed myself. Dad's voice faltered when the notification reached his phone. "What did you just do?" "Gave you the family calendar. I already had the calendar, you could see it. Now you manage it." "Claire, come on. I love you, Dad. I'll attend your dinner. I'm not organizing it." I hung up before he could ask how to add a guest. Then I put my phone in a drawer and walked into my green bedroom. The painted edges had bled in 3 places. I left them that way. The next morning, Dad sent me a screenshot of the calendar. The screenshot showed the weather app. I wrote, "That isn't the calendar." He replied, "I know. Wrong picture." 2 minutes later, he sent a photograph of his phone taken with Mom's phone. The calendar was open, but a permission request covered the screen. "Can't get past this." I called him and talked him through it. That worried me for a moment. Maybe refusing to manage the calendar while teaching him to use it was another version of doing everything. Then Dad added Aunt Carol to his dinner without asking me how, and I decided assistance was not the same thing as ownership. By Thursday, he had chosen a restaurant. Mom hated it. "He picked a steakhouse," she said when she called me at work. Dad likes steak. They have 2 vegetarian options, and one is a baked potato. Dad is retiring, not opening a wellness retreat. Aunt Carol doesn't eat red meat. Then she can order chicken. The private room is dark. I haven't seen it. I sent pictures. I'm in a meeting. You answered. I thought someone was hurt. I'm hurt that my own daughter won't give me an opinion. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Through the glass wall of the conference room, my boss lifted his eyebrows. I held up one finger. "Mom, if Dad likes the restaurant, let him have the restaurant. That's easy for you to say. You won't be blamed if it's depressing. Who would blame you? Everyone notices these things. Then tell them Dad chose it. You know he'll say I handled the details. Don't handle them." She was silent. The idea offended her on a level I almost respected. "I don't recognize you lately," she said. "I have to go. You used to care." The line followed me into the meeting. I did care. I cared whether Dad enjoyed his dinner. I cared whether Aunt Carol found something to eat. I cared that Mom sounded tired. I just didn't fix any of it. That distinction was so new I had to keep checking it for damage. On Friday evening, I went to pottery with Lena. My first bowl collapsed during shaping and became what the instructor generously called a low-serving dish. "It's an ashtray," I whispered. No one has owned an ashtray since 1987, Lena whispered back. The instructor looked over. Trust the clay. The clay has given up. You're gripping too hard. Lena made a sound beside me. Don't, I said. I didn't say anything. You made a sarcastic respiratory sound. That made me think of Dad at the engagement dinner. I laughed, then nearly cried into the spinning clay. Lena turned off my wheel. We can leave. No, I want to make the ashtray. So I did. When class ended, my phone showed a missed call from Aunt Carol and a message that said, "Call me when you can. Nothing bad." Nothing bad from a relative always meant something humiliating. I called from the parking lot. "Hi, sweetheart," she said. "I wanted to check on you. I'm okay. Your mother said you're taking some time." "From what?" "Family things." "I'm not planning family things." "That's different." She said the wedding opened some old wounds. The parking lot lights hummed overhead. What old wounds? You know, Ryan. I leaned against my car. What exactly did she tell you? Aunt Carol hesitated. For once, she seemed to understand that repeating something could make her responsible for it. She said the speech situation triggered feelings from your divorce, that you'd been having a hard time beforehand. I wasn't. I know you've always been private. I wasn't having a hard time beforehand. Of course. No, not of course, in the way people say when they think I'm too ashamed to admit it. I was fine. A couple walked past carrying identical pottery boxes. I turned away from them. What else did she say? She mentioned the night you called her from your bathroom. Heat moved up my neck. After Ryan left, I had spent one night on the bathroom floor because every other room in my house contained something he had chosen, touched, or complained about. I called Mom at 3 a.m. and told her I wished I could vanish for a while. She stayed on the phone until I fell asleep. I had never told anyone else. "Aunt Carol, I have to go." "Oh, honey, I'm sorry." "I thought she'd spoken to you." "She hasn't. She's worried." "No, she's explaining me. That's what mothers do. Not like this." I ended the call and sat in my car with the key in my hand. Lena tapped on the passenger window. I unlocked the door. She climbed in, placed her pottery box on her knees, and waited. Mom told Aunt Carol about the bathroom floor. Lena's mouth tightened. She's telling people the wedding triggered my divorce grief. Did it? No. Then why is she saying it? Because grief is more acceptable than anger. We sat without starting the car. Finally, Lena said, "I'm going to need a larger emergency clay." Mom answered on the third ring. "Claire? Why did you tell Aunt Carol about the night I called you from the bathroom?" She inhaled sharply. Not guilt, preparation. I was trying to help her understand. Understand what? Why you reacted so strongly. I reacted strongly because you helped Jenna humiliate me. You're still using that word. What word would you prefer? It was teasing. Misguided teasing, maybe. But your reaction has become much larger than the original event. You're telling relatives I'm unstable. I never used that word. You told Carol I wanted to disappear. You did. I told you. She's my sister. I'm your daughter. Mom's voice softened. Exactly. And I'm worried about you. No, you're worried about what people think happened at the wedding. People already think things happened. I'm trying to give them a compassionate explanation. The truth doesn't make me look compassionate enough. The truth is more complicated than you want it to be. The truth is, you approve the cards. The truth is, you've been carrying a great deal of bitterness since Ryan left. I gripped the steering wheel. You don't get to diagnose me because I stopped helping you. I'm not diagnosing anything. You took the worst night of my life and turned it into cover for what you did. I stayed on the phone with you for 4 hours that night. The reminder was immediate, precise. She had saved it. Was that a loan? I asked. What, do I owe you for those 4 hours? Don't be cruel. You keep receipts for your kindness, Mom. Then you call me controlling. She began to cry, not loudly. Mom cried in a careful way, her breath catching as if she were trying not to burden anyone. I have loved you through everything, she said. I closed my eyes. I know. Do you? Yes. That's why this hurts. She waited for the sentence to soften me. It almost did. Then she said, Jenna comes home tomorrow. I need you to end this before she gets back. There it was again. Love as a hallway leading to a task. What does ending it look like? Sunday dinner. The four of us. You acknowledge that leaving was wrong. Jenna apologizes for the jokes, and we move on. What do you apologize for? I already told you. Approving that version may have been misguided. That isn't an apology. You're demanding specific language now? I'm asking you to say what you did. I was trying to protect both my daughters. You handed one daughter, the other one's private pain. That is a vicious interpretation. It's what happened. I can't talk to you when you're like this. She hung up. Lena opened her pottery box and looked inside. Do you want to smash something? No. Good, because I like mine. Dad came to my condo the next afternoon. He carried a foil-covered casserole and held it out when I opened the door. Peace lasagna. Did Mom make that? I made it. I lifted one corner of the foil. The top was dark brown. Is peace supposed to be this crispy? I got distracted by the calendar. I let him in. We sat at my kitchen table. Dad looked around as if the room might provide instructions. The silver knot bracelet and shower card were still on my dresser, out of sight. My new pottery dish sat on the counter holding 3 paper clips and a cough drop. Your mother told me about the call, he said. Which parts? She said you accused her of using your divorce against you. She did. She shouldn't have told Carol, no. He rubbed his thumb along a scratch in the table. She's trying to keep the family from splitting. She's trying to choose the story. Maybe both. I waited. Dad stared at the casserole. At the wedding, he said. When you read the first joke, I knew it wasn't yours. My chest tightened. You knew? I didn't know they'd changed the cards. I thought maybe Jenna had asked you to add something. You knew I wouldn't write it. Yes. And you sat there. It happened fast. Mom had time to watch me. Jenna had time to laugh. You had time to decide not to interfere. What should I have done? Stood up and shouted. You could have asked if I was okay. In front of everyone? I looked at him. He understood too late that he had made my point. I'm sorry, he said. It was the first clean apology anyone in my family had offered me. I let it sit between us. Then he added, but I need you to meet them halfway. The apology shrank. Halfway to what? Come Sunday. And say leaving was wrong. Say you regret how the evening ended. I regret how it began. Claire. Will you tell Mom she was wrong? I already have. In private. That's where family disagreements belong. She gave my private life to Carol. Dad looked away. If you want a relationship with me, I said, stop asking me to make your silence comfortable. His face changed. That's unfair. Maybe. He stood. I followed him to the door and handed him my key to my parents' house. He stared at it in his palm. What's this? I don't want to be the default person anymore. It's a key, not a contract. In this family, it's both. Keep it. No. I held out my hand. And I want my spare back. Dad did not argue. He removed it from his key ring and placed it in my palm. For a second, we stood there holding the keys to homes we no longer had permission to enter. Then he left with the untouched lasagna. At 7 the next evening, someone knocked. When I opened the door, Jenna stood in the hallway with her suitcase beside her and Walter's pink travel pillow tucked beneath one arm. She looked exhausted, tan, and furious. We need to talk, she said. Then she saw the boxes behind me. What are those? Things that belong to you. Jenna stared past me. I had spent the afternoon emptying the bottom shelf of my hall closet. One box held wedding supplies, unopened fashion tape, 2 rolls of yellow ribbon, a stack of blank place cards, the backup phone chargers, and 6 linen napkins the hotel had accidentally packed with my things. Another held the favors and shower decorations that had not been distributed. The third contained items Jenna had left at my condo over the previous year, including a sweater, running shoes, 3 wine glasses she had brought to a tasting, and the umbrella she accused me of losing every time it rained. The silver bracelet and her shower card sat together on top. "You packed up my stuff?" "I organized it." "This looks like a breakup." "You brought a suitcase." "I came from the airport." "Why do you have Walter's pillow?" "He's in the car with Marcus." I looked toward the parking lot. "Marcus brought you?" "He didn't want me driving." "We had a long flight." Jenna's voice was clipped, as if the transportation arrangement had been negotiated by attorneys. I stepped aside. She rolled her suitcase into the entryway but left the pillow beneath her arm. Her wedding ring caught the light when she adjusted it. "You repainted," she said. "You picked the color. You actually chose Quiet Meadow?" "You chose Quiet Meadow. I thought we were considering it." "I considered it." She walked far enough into the living room to see the bedroom wall. The edge near the ceiling is crooked. Lena took away my tape. Why? She believes in character. Jenna almost smiled. Then she remembered she was angry. "Mom says you returned your key." "I did, and made Dad give yours back." "Yes." "Do you hear how extreme that sounds?" "I hear how it sounds when Mom says it. Dad is upset too. Dad came here. He told me." "Did he tell you why I gave it back? Because you don't want to be the default person." "That's one reason." "What does that even mean? Nobody called you the default person. You didn't have to." Jenna dropped the travel pillow onto my couch. "You erased yourself from the spreadsheet. You transferred the family calendar. You boarded Walter. I kept him until you arranged care. You gave us a deadline from our honeymoon. I gave you 12 hours to call a place you already use. We were supposed to be relaxing. I was supposed to read my own speech." She turned away and pressed both hands against the back of a dining chair. I waited. She said, "Marcus thinks I'm a completely different person." I didn't tell Marcus what to think. You sent him that speech knowing he was angry with me. He asked whether I wrote the jokes. You could have answered no. We already had this conversation. No, you hung up. Because you said I should have taken one joke. I was angry. So was I. I still didn't rewrite your wedding vows. Jenna flinched. That isn't the same. I know. Your vows matter. Stop. What do you want me to stop doing? That. Making everything into one perfect sentence where you win. I'm not trying to win. You always sound like you are. She moved to the window and looked down at the parking lot. I couldn't see Marcus's car from where I stood. He asked me why I lied, she said. What did you say? That I panicked. Is that true? Yes. About what? She crossed her arms. I thought she might refuse. Then she spoke without looking at me. All day people kept thanking you. It was your wedding. People thanked you too. They complimented me. They thanked you. That's what happens when someone is doing tasks. Denise told you she didn't know what we would have done without you. She was being nice. Marcus told everyone at the rehearsal dinner that you saved the shower. Sophie hosted the shower. You found the restaurant because you changed the plan. I know. The two words came out loud enough that I stopped. Jenna turned from the window. I know, Claire. I know you made the spreadsheet and fixed the invitations and found the restaurant and calmed me down at the venue and loosened my dress. I know you had backup tape and chargers and Dad's cufflinks. Everyone knows. Every story about my wedding has you arriving with the thing nobody else remembered. Her eyes had filled, but her voice stayed hard. I stood there while people told me I was beautiful and told you I was lucky. You were lucky. You were marrying Marcus. See? That isn't what I meant. It's always what you mean. You do everything, and then you don't understand why standing beside you feels like failing a test. I leaned against the table. Then why did you ask me? Because I needed you. She laughed once, bitterly. That's the whole humiliating answer. I wanted you there because you make things feel safe. Then you made it feel obvious that I needed you there. I didn't make those people thank me. You could have stepped back. I tried. At the first venue, I waited for you to speak, after you'd already told me what to say. I said you could tell them you didn't like it. Exactly. I stared at her. You think me telling you that you're allowed to have an opinion is controlling? I think you don't know how to help without becoming the person who knows better. Maybe I don't, but you don't know how to ask for help without resenting whoever gives it. Jenna wiped beneath one eye with the side of her hand. The gesture was Mom's too. Mom said the speech made it sound like I'd spent my whole life being dragged behind you. So you made mine sound pathetic. I made it funny. You made it safe for you. She sat on the arm of the couch. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Walter barked faintly from the parking lot. Jenna looked toward the window, then down at her ring. I wrote the emergency contact line, she said. I did not answer, and the one about managing my life. What about the difficult sister line? She nodded. The hostage line? Mom gave me that, I know. Jenna looked up. How? She used Ryan's exact words. I told her. Her face changed. You said that on the phone, but I thought you meant she'd heard him say it. No. I called her one night after he left. I told her what he'd said. Jenna stared at the floor. She told me you'd used the phrase yourself. She lied. I didn't know that. You knew enough, I know. It was not an apology, but it was the first time she had said those words without following them with a defense. I sat in the chair across from her. Why keep my first card? She looked confused. The first card was mine. The other 5 were yours. Why? So you'd start normally. The honesty was ugly and almost childlike. You wanted me to be in it before I realized. I thought once people laughed, you'd keep going. Why? Because you never make a scene. The sentence hurt more than if she had said, because you're weak. Jenna pressed her palms together. Mom said you'd understand afterward. Did you believe her? I wanted to. No. Did you? She shook her head. Outside, Walter barked again. A car door opened, then closed. I heard your original speech, I said. You cried. You told me not to change it. You had days to ask me. I didn't know how, so you let me stand at a microphone and find out. Yes. There it was, not softened, not rearranged. I breathed in slowly. I'm sorry, Jenna said. The words were quiet. What are you sorry for? Her mouth tightened. Do I have to do it exactly right? No. But I need to know what you think you did. I changed your speech. You stole my voice in front of everyone who knows us. That sounds dramatic. It felt dramatic. She looked away. I'm sorry I changed it. I'm sorry I used the divorce jokes. I'm sorry I let people think you wrote them. The apology reached me. I hated that it did. I wanted to cross the room and hold her. I wanted to tell her I understood the fear because I did. I knew what it was to feel like the less lovable person in a room and to hate whoever appeared to be proving it. But understanding had always been the door through which my boundaries escaped. Did you tell Sophie and Tasha the truth? They know. You told them there were edits. I corrected it later. What about everyone else? What do you mean? Mom told relatives I was emotional about Ryan and possibly drunk. Aunt Carol thinks the wedding triggered some kind of collapse. Jenna's eyes widened. Mom said she defended you. She told Carol about the night I slept on my bathroom floor. What? She's using my divorce to explain why I stopped the speech. That has nothing to do with me. I laughed. Of course it does. I didn't ask her to tell Carol that. No. You only gave her the reason she needed a cover story. Jenna stood. So now I'm responsible for everything Mom says? No. You're responsible for what you say. What do you want me to say? The truth. To who? The people you let believe I wrote those jokes. Her face closed. You want me to send some mass apology? I want you to correct the lie. That would humiliate me. The words landed between us with almost comic perfection. Jenna heard them too. Her shoulders sank. I stood and walked to the first box. I picked up the shower card and held it out. Was this true? She looked at her handwriting. Yes. You wrote that you saw me. I did. Then why didn't you see what those cards would do? I did, she whispered. I just wanted one day where I didn't feel smaller than you. I placed the card back on the box. Every time Mom makes you feel small, you climb on top of me instead of standing up to her. That's not fair. It's what happened. Her gaze fell to the bracelet. You're giving that back? I don't know what it means anymore. It means we're sisters. We don't need jewelry to prove that. No, apparently we need a public statement. I need you to stop asking me to carry your shame. She picked up the bracelet, curled it into her palm, and held it there. For a moment, she looked very young, although there was nothing young about either of us. Then a knock sounded at the door. Marcus stood in the hallway with Walter's leash around one wrist. Walter shoved past his legs and ran straight to me, whining as if I had returned from war. I knelt and buried my face in his neck. Above me, Marcus said, "We should go." Jenna wiped her cheeks. "I'm not done. I'll wait in the car." He looked at me only once. "Thank you for taking care of him." Then he left. Jenna gathered the travel pillow and the wedding supply box. She left the other two. At the door, she turned. "I don't know how to fix this. I'm not giving you a spreadsheet." A broken laugh escaped her. For 1 second, she was the sister who had eaten noodles on my floor and chosen the wrong shade of green. Then she looked at the bracelet in her hand. "I meant the card," she said. "I know." She left before either of us could confuse that with enough. The other 2 boxes stayed in my entryway for 9 days. Jenna did not ask for them. Mom did. She left a voicemail saying the boxes were visually hostile and that Jenna had called her crying after leaving my condo. I texted Jenna directly. "Do you want the boxes?" She answered an hour later. "Yes, I'll get them Sunday." Then, 2 minutes after that, Mom asked me to tell you she wants her blue casserole dish back. I wrote, "Tell Mom to ask me herself." 3 dots appeared. I know. Sorry. It was the smallest possible change, but I noticed. Jenna picked up the boxes Sunday morning. She came alone and did not come inside. Her hair was tied up, and she wore the same gray college sweatshirt she used to steal from me before admitting it had always been hers. "How's Walter?" I asked. "Mad that we left him. He spent 8 days being fed cheese by strangers. He's emotionally complex." She loaded the first box into her trunk. "How's Marcus?" "Also emotionally complex." I didn't ask more. When she lifted the second box, the bottom sagged. I grabbed one side before it split. "I have it," she said. "The box is tearing." "I can manage a box. I'm holding cardboard, not questioning your adulthood." We carried it together. At the trunk, she shifted her grip and said, "I told Marcus everything." I set my side down. "Everything about the cards? And Mom? And why I changed it?" "What did he say?" "That I made him part of humiliating you because he was sitting there laughing." "He wasn't laughing." "I know. He said it felt like he was." She pushed the box deeper into the trunk. "He's not leaving me, if that's what you're wondering." "I wasn't. You were. I was wondering whether you were okay." Jenna glanced at me. "We're not okay," she said, "but we're trying to get there. That sounds honest. He wants me to correct it with the family. Because I told him to? Because he thinks it's right." The distinction seemed important to her. "Are you going to?" "I don't know." I nodded. She shut the trunk. "Mom says you're refusing to come to Dad's retirement dinner unless she apologizes publicly." I never said that. She said you gave Dad an ultimatum. I told him I wouldn't help him hide what happened if it came up again. That sounds like an ultimatum when you say it in your Claire voice. What's my Claire voice? The one you're using? I folded my arms. Jenna leaned against the car. She also said you accused her of keeping receipts for loving you. I said kindness shouldn't become debt. That is not the sentence she gave me. I'm shocked. She looked down at the pavement. Then she said, "She told Dad I had a panic attack on the honeymoon." I waited. "I called her from the bathroom at the resort," Jenna continued. "Marcus had gone for a walk. I couldn't breathe. I told her I thought I'd ruined my marriage before it even started. The similarity was so exact that it made my skin prickle." "What did Dad say?" He called and asked whether I needed to see someone. That's not terrible. I hadn't told him. No. She said she was trying to help him understand why I was emotional. The same words. The same defense. Jenna rubbed her thumb over the edge of her wedding ring. I'm sorry she did that. She was worried. She was explaining you. Jenna's eyes lifted to mine. I had used those words with Lena. Hearing them now felt different. She always does this? Jenna asked. Not always. With you. I thought about the ways Mom had translated me to other people. Claire is tired. Claire is still sensitive about Ryan. Claire likes being in control. Claire doesn't mind helping. Claire doesn't really enjoy crowds. Claire said no, but she'll come around. She likes people to make sense, I said, and she gets to decide the sense. Yes. Jenna looked toward the building entrance where the glass reflected both of us in distorted pieces. I'm not saying what I did is her fault. Good. I'm saying I understand something I didn't before. That's also good. She opened the driver's door. Are you coming to Dad's dinner? I told him I would. Mom says you're bringing the slideshow. I'm bringing a gift. Jenna laughed once. She's going to lose her mind. She'll survive. Will you sit with us? I don't know. She nodded as if she had expected that. Before she got into the car, she said, I still have the bracelet, I assumed. I didn't put it in the box. Okay, I'm not trying to make that mean anything. Okay. She frowned. You could say something else. I don't know what you want me to say. Never mind. She closed the door. The following Friday, Dad sent his retirement invitation to 38 people with the subject line, I am retiring, please read. The body of the email contained the date, the restaurant, the address, and 3 paragraphs about parking. He had attached a photograph of the restaurant entrance so no one would accidentally go into the nail salon next door. Mom replied to everyone, Please excuse the informal invitation. We hope you can join us. Claire will be collecting photos for a slideshow, so send your favorites to her. My phone began receiving attachments. Dad called before I could respond. I told her not to do that. I'm not making a slideshow. I know. People are sending me pictures of you holding fish. I've held a lot of fish. One may be a small shark. That was a good day. I heard clicking on his end. What are you doing? Trying to reply to everyone. You don't need to defend me. I'm not. I'm correcting the information. A minute later, Dad's email arrived. Correction. There will be no slideshow. Please stop sending Claire fish pictures. She is attending as my daughter and guest. I am handling the program. I read the final sentence twice. Thanks, Dad. I can make my own slideshow. You just said there wasn't one. I'm considering options. Do you know how? No. I smiled despite myself. There's a template in the presentation software. I can find it. Okay. Another pause. I'm sorry about the key, he said. You don't have to be sorry I returned it. I'm sorry you thought you had to. I leaned back in my chair. I did have to. I know that now. There were questions I wanted to ask. Whether he had confronted Mom, whether he believed me without qualification, whether his apology would survive the next time she became upset. Instead, I said, I'll see you at dinner. Mom called that night. Your father embarrassed me in front of 38 people. He corrected the invitation. He made it sound like I was ordering you around. You volunteered me for a slideshow. I was trying to include you. I'm already included. I'm his daughter. You know what I mean? I do. She changed tactics. Jenna tells me you two had a nice talk. We spoke in the parking lot. She said you helped her understand why I shared the honeymoon situation. That isn't what happened. Then what happened? That conversation was between Jenna and me. Mom went quiet. The boundary was so simple that I could hear her searching for the hidden accusation. I'm not asking for secrets, she said. Good. I'm asking whether my daughters are repairing their relationship. Ask Jenna how she feels. I'm asking you. I'm not discussing Jenna with you. This is absurd. It's direct. We're family. We talk about one another. Yes. That's part of the problem. Her breath sharpened. I don't know who has been putting these ideas in your head. No one. Lena has never liked us. Lena barely knows you. She's always encouraging you to separate yourself. She encouraged me to make an ashtray." "What?" "Nothing." Mom sounded tired when she spoke again. "Are you coming to the dinner to punish me? I'm coming to celebrate Dad. I don't want a scene." "Neither did I." "Claire." "What?" "I'm sorry you were hurt." I waited. "That's it?" she asked. "That's not an apology." I said, "I'm sorry. You're sorry something happened inside me. Not that you did something to me. I will not perform a confession because you've learned therapy language. I'm not asking for a performance. That is exactly what you're asking for. You want me to stand in front of the family and abase myself. I didn't ask you to stand anywhere. But you want people to know. I want you to stop lying." Her voice dropped. "I have never lied about you. You told people I was struggling before the wedding. You were. I wasn't. You were sleeping badly. I was planning a wedding. You were overinvested in planning a wedding that wasn't yours." The words hung there. I thought of Jenna at my window saying, "Everyone thanked me. You asked me to do those things. I asked for help. You took over. Mom, you called me to compare invitations. You volunteered me for venue tours. You put my name next to every problem because you like being needed." Maybe I did. That was the part she always used, the piece of truth that made the rest harder to reject. "I liked believing being needed meant being valued," I said. Her answer came without hesitation. "You were valued until I stopped." Mom made an impatient sound. "I'm not doing this again. Come to the dinner, don't come to the dinner, but do not hold your father's night hostage." There it was. The word Ryan had used. The word she had handed Jenna. A word that turned any boundary into captivity and any refusal into cruelty. I hung up. The pottery instructor fired my collapsed bowl the next week. The glaze came out darker than expected, blue-black at the center and pale around the crooked rim. "It's nice," I told Lena. "It's an ashtray. No one has owned an ashtray since 1987. Some truths survive repetition." I took it home and placed my keys inside it. On the night of Dad's dinner, I wore a dark green dress Jenna had once told me made my shoulders look expensive. I wrapped his gift, wrote a card, and left my phone in my purse while I drove. At the restaurant entrance, Dad's photograph had been useful. The nail salon next door had an almost identical awning. Through the private room doors, I could see Aunt Carol, Denise, Sophie, Tasha, several of Dad's co-workers, and Marcus near the bar. Jenna stood beside him in a blue dress, turning the silver knot bracelet around her wrist. She saw me. Instead of coming over, she glanced toward Mom, then back at me. I understood the choice she was trying to make. So did she. Jenna took her hand out of Mom's and walked across the room alone. "You came," Jenna said. I said I would. "I know. I just wasn't sure saying things worked that way in our family anymore." Her fingers went to the bracelet. I looked at it, then at her. "I didn't wear it to make a point," she said. "Okay, I wanted to wear it." "Okay, you have more words than that. I'm trying not to tell you what the bracelet means." That surprised a smile out of her. Behind us, Mom called, "Jenna, sweetheart, Denise is asking about the seating." Denise was not asking about the seating. She was standing near Dad's co-workers, holding a glass of wine and listening to a story with the patience of someone who had survived several committee meetings. Jenna looked over her shoulder. "Do you need to go?" I asked. "No," Mom called again. "Jenna, I heard you." The room went quiet in a small circle around us, the way it did whenever Mom's daughters failed to respond in their assigned tone. Jenna touched my elbow. "You're at table 2 with me and Marcus." "Where's Mom?" "Table 1 with Dad." "Did she design that?" "Dad did. He said if he had to sit through one family conflict at his retirement dinner, he wanted it to be within bread-throwing distance. That sounds like him. It gets better." "Aunt Carol is between them." I looked across the room. Aunt Carol was already at the table examining the menu through glasses she refused to admit she needed. "Human sandbag," I said. Jenna laughed. Mom watched us. I had spent weeks preparing myself for her anger. I was less prepared for the wounded look on her face when she saw us share a joke without her. Dad rescued me by appearing with a small white box. "You're here," he said. "Everyone keeps saying that." I was managing expectations. He hugged me with one arm because the box occupied the other. "What's that?" "Laptop adapter. You made the slideshow." "I made 23 minutes of slideshow. That is a documentary. People can get another drink." He looked proud and terrified. His tie was slightly crooked, and he had put a folded parking map in his breast pocket. "I have a gift for you," I said. "You showing up was the gift." Mom was near enough to hear. Her mouth tightened. Dad seemed to hear himself a second late. "I mean, not that I thought you wouldn't," he added, "just that I'm glad." "I know." A server approached holding 2 silver cake knives. "Mr. Whitaker, where would you like these?" Dad looked at Mom. Mom looked at me. I looked at the server. "Probably near the cake," Dad said. The server nodded. That was my instinct. He carried them away. Dad leaned toward me. Did that feel like a test? Yes. Did I pass? Barely. At table 2, Sophie hugged me so hard my earring caught in her hair. Tasha handed me a glass of wine and said, "This one is accounted for. If anyone asks, I watched you pour it." Marcus stood when I sat down. He looked tired, but there was less distance in his face than I'd seen at my condo. "Hi, Claire." "Hi. I owe you an apology." Jenna looked at him. "For what?" I asked. "For accepting the explanation at brunch as long as I did. I knew you hadn't written those cards. I was angry, and I still let people talk around it because I didn't want to make the wedding worse. You asked me, eventually. It wasn't a heroic apology. That made me trust it more." "Thank you," I said. He sat. Jenna turned the bracelet around her wrist again. Dinner began with bread baskets and a debate over whether Dad had actually retired or simply promised not to check his work email before breakfast. His former manager told a story about Dad accidentally sending an entire department a photograph of a raccoon on his porch. Dad insisted the raccoon had been relevant to the conversation. Mom floated between tables, even though her name card was at table 1. She corrected a server who called Dad Mr. Paul, moved a flower arrangement because it blocked Aunt Carol's view, and asked me twice whether I wanted more food. Both times, I said no. She seemed offended that I did not turn the offer into peace. The slideshow began after dinner. Dad connected his laptop correctly, which earned quiet applause from Jenna. Then he discovered he had included the same photograph of himself holding a fish 4 times. "I like that one," he explained from the front of the room. "It's not even the same fish," Mom said. "It is the same fish." The shirt changes. I own 2 blue shirts. The slides were not elegant. Some photographs stretched sideways. One of Dad and Mom at the Grand Canyon appeared with a stock transition that made them spin into the distance. A slide labeled Colleagues showed 3 co-workers and a man none of us recognized. But Dad had made it. When a photograph of Jenna and me appeared, we were standing in my parents' kitchen years earlier, both wearing paper crowns from Christmas crackers. Jenna had her arm around my waist. I was laughing at something outside the frame. The next photograph showed Mom holding a birthday cake while Dad reached around her to light the candles. The room made a collective soft sound. Dad cleared his throat. "I was going to do a speech," he said. "But apparently 23 minutes of photographs is already considered excessive." "By the Geneva Convention," Marcus said. Dad pointed at him. "Still got your wedding gift." Marcus raised both hands. People laughed. Dad thanked his co-workers, his friends, and Mom. He thanked Jenna and Marcus for adjusting their travel plans to attend, although the dinner had been scheduled before their honeymoon. Then he looked at me. "And Claire," he said, "thank you for being here as my daughter, and not because we gave you a job." The sentence caught me off guard. Mom looked down at her plate. Dad raised his glass. "To retirement. I recommend it. Nobody asks you to make spreadsheets." "Yet," I said. He smiled. For a while, the night was easy. Dad opened gifts. Aunt Carol ordered coffee. Tasha argued with Sophie about whether the unidentified man in the slideshow was a stock photograph. Jenna asked if I had finished my pottery class. I made a bowl. "Is it a bowl?" It holds keys. So no. Marcus laughed. The server rolled in the cake on a metal cart. Mom stood immediately. Where are the candles? Dad checked the cart as if they might be concealed beneath it. The restaurant was providing them, he said. I told you to bring the gold candles from home. You told me they were in the bag. They were on the counter beside the bag. Then they're at home. Mom turned toward me. It was reflex. So was the silence that followed. I don't know where they are, I said. You were at the house when I bought them, she replied, for the invitation assembly. You put them in the cabinet. That was 4 months ago. Well, someone should have checked. Dad pulled out his phone. We have flashlights. That is not the same. It's fire adjacent. The server said she could bring small white candles from the kitchen. Mom pressed her lips together. Fine. Nobody moved to soothe her. Jenna took a sip of water. Dad asked the server for the candles. The room continued. The change was almost invisible, but I felt it. No one had died because I didn't know where the gold candles were. When the white candles arrived, Dad leaned over the cake and blew all of them out before we finished singing. He claimed retirement meant he could skip verses. Aunt Carol lifted her coffee. It's nice having everyone together, she said. I wasn't sure we'd manage after all the wedding excitement. Excitement, Sophie repeated. Aunt Carol pretended not to hear. Mom cut the cake herself, placing uneven slices on plates. We've all had to adjust, she said. Claire has decided she's no longer reliable. The knife scraped against the serving tray. Dad said, Diane. Mom smiled toward the room as if she were still joking. Her word, not mine. I never said that, I replied. You returned our key. You walked out of the wedding. You removed yourself from the family calendar. I think that qualifies as a change in reliability. Conversations at the other tables faded. I put down my fork. This is Dad's dinner. Exactly. Which is why I hoped we could get through one evening without making your feelings the center of it. I almost laughed. Jenna's chair moved beside me. Mom, stop. Mom looked at her. Sweetheart, this isn't about you. Yes, it is. Marcus did not touch her or pull her back. He sat very still. Jenna stood. The bracelet slid down her wrist. I changed Claire's speech, she said. The room became silent enough that I heard a spoon hit a saucer near the door. Mom's expression froze. Jenna looked at Aunt Carol first, then Sophie and Tasha, then the rest of the room. Claire didn't write the jokes at the wedding. She wrote a completely different speech. I heard it before the wedding, and I secretly replaced 5 of her 6 cards because I thought hers made me look dependent on her. Aunt Carol stared at her coffee. Jenna continued, her voice shaking. The divorce jokes were mine and Mom's. Claire didn't know about them. She wasn't drunk. She didn't get overwhelmed because weddings reminded her of Ryan. She stopped because we tricked her into reading things she never agreed to say. Mom set down the cake knife. That's enough. No. The word came from Jenna with surprising steadiness. I let people think Claire ruined my wedding because I was ashamed of what I did. She asked me to correct it, and I said that would humiliate me. Someone inhaled sharply. Jenna looked at me. I'm sorry, she said, not because you couldn't take a joke, because it wasn't a joke to you, and I knew that. I used the fact that you wouldn't make a scene against you. I couldn't speak. Mom stepped around the cake cart. Claire, what did you say to her? Nothing. Don't insult me. I didn't know she was going to do this. You demanded a public apology. I asked her to tell the truth. At her expense. Jenna flinched. Dad stood. Diane, stop. Mom turned toward him. You have no idea what she's been doing to this family. I know what happened at the wedding. You know her version. I watched it. You watched Claire create a spectacle. I watched our daughter discover that her speech had been changed. Mom stared at him. Dad's voice was not loud. I had never heard it sound so final. Jenna told the truth. Claire did not cause this. The room seemed to tilt toward him. Mom's face crumpled. After everything I have done for both of you. She looked from Jenna to me, then to Dad, as if we had arranged ourselves against her. I made one mistake. You keep making it, I said. Her eyes snapped to mine. And there it is. You got what you wanted. What do you think I wanted? To punish me. To turn your sister against me. To make your father perform for everyone. Dad stepped between us. That's enough. Mom grabbed her purse from the back of her chair and walked out. Aunt Carol started to rise. Dad said, "Let her go." The sadness in his voice stopped everyone. I looked at Jenna. Her face had gone pale, but she remained standing. Marcus reached for her hand only after she offered it. I picked up my purse. Jenna's eyes widened. "You're leaving." "I need air." "I didn't do that so you'd leave." "I know." Dad followed me into the hallway. The restaurant lobby smelled like coffee and someone's floral perfume. Through the glass doors, I saw Mom standing under the awning, wiping her face. "Do you want me to stay?" I asked Dad. He looked toward his wife, then back at the private room where his retirement cake sat half-cut. "No," he said. "I understand why you're going." It hurt, even though it was permission. Dad touched my shoulder. I should have said it sooner. "Yes, I'm going back in. To Jenna, to all of it." For once, he did not ask me to go with him. He returned to the private room. I walked past Mom without stopping. "Claire," she called. I turned. Rain had begun to spot the pavement beyond the awning. Mom wrapped both arms around herself. "I hope you're happy." "No, you wanted everyone to know. I wanted you to stop lying about me. I am sorry you couldn't laugh. I am sorry Jenna's wedding wasn't the place for your particular sensitivities. I am sorry nothing I do is ever enough for you." The old reflex rose in me: explain, soften, translate, rescue. I let it rise. Then I let it pass. "That isn't an apology," I said. "I have nothing else to give." I believed her. That was the part that finally set me free. I opened my umbrella and stepped into the rain alone. By the time I reached my car, my shoes were wet and my phone was ringing inside my purse. Jenna. I let it ring twice before answering. "Where are you?" she asked. "In the parking lot. We're coming out. Don't." "Claire, go back inside. Dad deserves to finish his dinner. I didn't mean for Mom to do that. I know. Are you mad at me?" The question was so Jenna that I laughed through the tears in my throat. "I don't know what I am. I should have warned you. If you had, I might have tried to stop you. Why? Because I know what Mom does when she feels cornered. I know now, too." Through the windshield, I saw people moving inside the restaurant. Marcus stood near the private room doors. Dad was speaking to Aunt Carol. Mom remained beneath the awning, staring at the rain. "You told the truth," I said. "Let that be enough for tonight." "It isn't enough." "No, but it's real." Jenna breathed out. "Text me when you get home?" The request sounded like Dad on the wedding night. This time, it did not contain another task beneath it. "I will." I drove home. Mom called 3 times and left 1 voicemail. I did not listen to it. Her words beneath the awning had been clear enough. When I reached my condo, I set my wet keys in the crooked pottery bowl and texted Jenna, "Home." She reacted with a heart. The next morning, the family group chat showed 27 unread messages. Jenna's was first. I need to correct what I said after the wedding. Claire did not write the jokes in her Maid-of-Honor speech. She wrote a loving speech that I heard beforehand. I replaced 5 of her 6 cards without telling her because I was insecure and angry. Mom knew and approved the replacement. Claire was not drunk, jealous, or emotionally triggered by her divorce. She stopped because the words weren't hers. "I am sorry I let anyone believe otherwise." Beneath it, Dad had written, "This is true." Sophie sent a heart. Tasha wrote, "Thank you for saying it plainly." Aunt Carol took longer. "Claire, I am sorry for the advice card joke and for accepting an explanation about you without asking you. It wasn't kind. Mom left the group. I stared at the empty line announcing her departure. It did not feel victorious. It felt like watching a door slam in a house I still loved. I wrote, "Thank you, Jenna." Then I wrote, "Thank you, Aunt Carol." I did not add anything else. Mom's voicemail stayed unheard until that afternoon. I listened while standing in my green bedroom. Her voice was controlled. "I'm sure you're satisfied with how last night went. Your father has chosen to take your side. Jenna has publicly blamed me for a decision she made, and now the family is discussing private matters as if we're strangers on the internet. I won't participate in this. When you're ready to speak respectfully, you know where I am." There was no mention of Ryan's words, no mention of Aunt Carol, no apology. I saved the message instead of deleting it. Not because I wanted to punish myself, because I knew there would be mornings when I missed her enough to rewrite it in my head. I sent one text. "I'm taking space. Do not discuss my private life with other people or ask Dad or Jenna to carry messages between us. If we speak again, it will not be based on me apologizing for leaving the wedding." She replied 4 minutes later, "I will always love you. I won't beg for access to my own daughter." I did not answer. Dad came over the following Saturday with 2 slices of retirement cake and a new plastic container he emphasized did not need to be returned. "Your mother knows I'm here," he said. I didn't ask. "I know. I'm learning not to use information as a shield." That sounds uncomfortable. It's awful. We ate cake at my kitchen table. He had removed his work email from his phone, but still checked the blank spot on the screen where the icon used to be. "Your mother and I are having a difficult time," he said. I set down my fork. "I'm not the person to discuss that with." "I know." He looked at the cake. "I wasn't asking you to fix it. I was telling you because pretending everything is fine has been my main contribution to the problem." That was new. "What did you say to her after I left?" "That she was wrong. That Jenna was right to correct the story. That I should have spoken sooner." "How did that go?" "She slept in the guest room." "I'm sorry. I'm not telling you so you'll feel guilty. I can feel sorry without taking responsibility." Dad considered that. "Can you write that down for me?" "No." He smiled. Then his face grew serious again. "I kept asking you to be the bigger person because you were the safest person to disappoint." The sentence reached a place apologies had not. "Did you rehearse that?" "In the car. I can tell. I had 3 versions. That one was good." He nodded, relieved. "I'm not asking you to forgive me today." "Good. Will you have coffee with me next week? Coffee only? No calendar training." "Then yes." He finished his cake and carried his plate to the sink. He washed it without asking where the sponge was, although he used the brush reserved for water bottles. I let him. Jenna waited another week before asking to see me. Her message said, "Coffee? No ambush. No mom." Marcus knows I'm asking, but didn't send me. I agreed to meet at a cafe halfway between our homes. She arrived early. That frightened me more than if she had brought legal documents. "I've changed," she said as I sat down. "You've been here 6 minutes. 8. We both smiled. She wore the bracelet but did not touch it once. For a while, we discussed ordinary things. Walter had developed an attachment to a laundry room employee at the boarding place. Marcus had moved one of his 4 gray hoodies to the donation pile, then retrieved it. My pottery bowl had survived daily key storage without collapsing further. When our coffee was almost gone, Jenna said, "I keep thinking about the first card." I wrapped both hands around my cup. "I kept it because I knew you wouldn't stop if the first line sounded normal," she continued. "I planned around you being dependable." "Yes, I'm not saying that, so you'll tell me I'm brave for admitting it." "Good. I do want to know if you think you can forgive me." "Eventually." Her face fell before she could hide it. "That doesn't mean we go back. What's the difference? Going back means I help until I'm angry. You resent needing help, and Mom decides which one of us is allowed to be hurt. What does going forward mean? I don't know yet. You usually know. Get used to disappointment." She laughed softly. I told her what I needed if we were going to try. Direct requests, no messages through Mom, no jokes built from private pain, and no assuming I would handle something because I had handled it before. Jenna listened without arguing. Then she added one of her own. "You have to let me do things badly." "What?" "If I ask for help, you can say yes or no. But if I don't ask, you can't step in because you're sure I'll fail. I opened my mouth. She pointed at me. You're doing your hearing face. I don't have a hearing face. You absolutely do. I sat back. Fine. And if I complain about something, it doesn't automatically mean I want you to solve it. That feels intentionally confusing. People do it all the time. Unhealthy people. Claire. Fine. She took a sip of cold coffee. Mom says you're tearing the family apart, she said. I looked at her. Sorry, that was a test. Did I pass? No. You looked ready to climb across the table. Don't carry messages, I know. She hesitated. I'm not speaking to her much either. You don't have to choose between us. I'm not. I'm choosing whether I want every private feeling turned into a family explanation. That belonged to her. I left it there. We did not hug when we left the cafe. 2 days later, Jenna texted me a photograph of Walter asleep on Marcus's gray hoodie. I sent back a picture of my latest pottery attempt, a cup with a handle too small for a human finger. She wrote, "Beautiful thimble." I wrote, "I hate you." She reacted with a heart. Mom sent a card on my birthday. On the front were painted flowers. Inside she wrote, "The door is always open when you're ready." She did not apologize. I placed it in a drawer beside the unheard versions of things I wished she had said. Dad took me to lunch. He did not mention Mom until I asked how she was. Jenna called without needing anything. Sometimes I still answered too quickly. Sometimes she still began requests with, "This is probably stupid." We corrected one another and got annoyed. Repair was less graceful than rupture. It required repetition without applause. Marcus and Jenna stayed married. They did not become a perfect couple because the truth came out. They argued, attended dinners separately twice, and learned not to use me as a translator. Marcus remained cautious around me for a while. Then one evening he sent a photograph of his car battery and asked whether the white corrosion meant death. I replied with the number for roadside assistance. 3 months after Dad's dinner, Jenna invited me over. Dinner Saturday. You are not bringing food, wine, flowers, tools, tape, chargers, or a backup plan. I wrote, what about emotional support? Bring a normal amount. When I arrived, she was still cooking. Marcus opened the door with smoke drifting behind him. This is under control, he said. From the kitchen, Jenna shouted, "Stop saying that to people." Walter ran toward me carrying his pink travel pillow. I sat at their table while Jenna burned the first batch of garlic bread and served the second one, pale. The pasta sauce came from a jar. Nobody apologized for it. After dinner, Marcus stood to clear the plates. Jenna reached for my empty wine glass and knocked it against the water pitcher. The glass fell. It struck the floor and shattered beneath the table. For 1 second, nobody moved. The old silence entered the room with us. Jenna's panic, Marcus's caution, my instinct to stand, find the broom, direct traffic, make the accident disappear before anyone could be blamed. I pushed my chair back. Jenna held up her hand. "Stay seated. I can help. I know." She got the broom from the pantry. Marcus brought the dustpan. They argued mildly about which direction to sweep while Walter watched from behind my chair, offended by the interruption. I stayed seated. When the floor was clear, Jenna returned with another glass and set it in front of me. "No job?" I asked. "No job." She sat beside me, not across from me, and stole a piece of pale garlic bread from my plate. For the first time in a long time, I let my sister love me without making myself useful.